Welcome, Ultraers and Switchy sisters alike, to episode 15 of the weekly episodic gaming adjacent livestream podcast show. This is Switch to Ultra. Live on Monday nights, we are back. I have returned from a far-off island with dozens of bug bites that spell out the constellations in the sky. And while we were both gone, Xbox decided to fire everyone with reckless abandon. Welcome to the Switch to Ultra family. I'm your co-parent, BH Ultra.
And I'm your co-parent, Switchy.
And how was your week off, Switchy? Or this is a perfect time to test the audio because I have some lore from the real Ultraers paying attention.
Okay, well, I was in Sarasota, which is a few hours away from where I live in South Miami. And it's kind of funny that I do that. It's kind of a family thing that like my extended family does every year. They go to Sarasota because I guess instead of the beaches in Miami, like go in another part of Florida.
You're cutting in and out for me, and chat says they can't really hear you. Oh, we'll just keep it rolling, as it were. So yeah, talking about this is a regular. So your regular family vacation, is this a yearly occurrence?
Yes and no. I mean, we did it 23. My sister and I went last year, and then my whole family did it again this year. At least in terms of like my nuclear family. But yeah, no, I have extended family stuff. And I guess to be honest, I was making fun of the idea of going on a vacation with Florida, but the west coast of Florida and the east coast of Florida, they're very, very. Yeah. Well, yeah, no. So West Coast Florida, different vibe. I was out there for a week. Fortunately, I was also able to bring my laptop and remote desktop back home to video edit and stuff. So that's kind of nice to do. Kind of like, I don't know, keeps your head in the game, I suppose.
Yeah.
Actually, this weekend, this is actually some Switchy news.
Oh.
I am flying over to San Francisco. Not San Francisco. Well, I'm going to San Francisco, but I'm going to drive up to Sacramento, California, because a movie I'm in is premiering, having its debut. Yeah, I have a small role, but it's a film called Brain Bugs. Yeah. So I'll talk more about it at the end of the show.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is more of like a nostalgia-based trip because I talked about it vaguely in other videos because that's, when you're talking about nostalgic cartoons or an experience from your childhood, it sort of just ties into your personal life. And I like to think that's what we have to add as our own personal stories. I got a comment recently that was asking me to talk about like Gravity Falls or something. And that's one that that's a show I really like. It's something I would love to cover someday. Maybe, maybe. But it's one of those things that, like, I tweeted this out, that I view YouTube as sort of, like, one continuous continuity. And it's all, like, I do not exist in a bubble. It is not like, oh, this is my platform. I exist within the context of specific communities that I am a part of. So when people ask me, and they mean well, I'm not saying this to be like, this person, how dare you comment this or whatever. But the idea of me making, like, I don't know, like an analysis or a retrospective of Gravity Falls, like, I truly do not know what I could say that hasn't already been said about that show specifically. Like, I feel like if there's something I want to cover that's been covered a lot in the past, that I want to have a unique perspective, or I want to bring something conversationally to the table. And although I do love Gravity Falls, there's only so many times I can say, like, oh yeah, this is funny, this mystery's cool, before it's just been done over and over. That wasn't the point I was making. The point I was making on top of that is that obviously there's nostalgic stories tied to everything. In the, specifically the Stoked video, I saw it coming up a lot. We are in the summer of Stoked again. It skips a generation. Every other year is the summer of Stoked. And then conversely, every year between those is the summer of Switchy. It bats back and forth. And that video, I talk a lot about going on vacation to a specific beach and like a beach house that I don't really remember. And I only recently, like, personally, locally, have been paying attention to where I'm going. Like, before, I'm just like, oh, if I need to go to this restaurant, I'll, like, DoorDash it, or I'll just look it up on my map and then go there. Aside from, like, the movie theater I go to every week, there weren't a lot of places that I, like, remembered. So I've been making a conscious effort to pin things on my map and try and understand them locationally. Similarly, when I was, every year when I was driven to vacations, like a 5-hour road trip, 5 or 6 hours, I would just kind of shut my brain off or like listen to music or whatever and not really look out the window. Like, as far as I was concerned, when I was a kid, I was just driven somewhere. Like, I closed my eyes, put a blindfold on, and I was put to another universe. Like, I didn't know where it was. Whereas when I went there this year, because the last time we had been there or had gone there was 2017. This is a place we have gone, or we had gone every summer from, I believe, 2007 to 2017, or maybe 2008 to 2017. And I have a lot of fond memories of that, and a lot of, cartoon related or TV show related memories, and a lot of that is brought up in the Stoked video. Like, specifically when we're at the beach house, and it's like an insanely fucking crazy beach house. Being in big houses like that is so spooky to me, especially when they're older. And not in like a haunted house situation, more of just like I'm not supposed to be here, I'm not built for this situation, especially when I was younger. That to get to the beach, you have to ride a little trolley. Like, you have these wristbands, and they're like, oh, hop on the trolley, and then you do. And I remember, like, the first year we were there, 2008, it was June, and we were getting on the trolley, and it was at the same time that Flapjack had premiered on the Cartoon Network. And I think maybe like the second or third episode of that show is the foot burn, where they talk about going on a trolley and the foot burn, and they say the foot burn, like stretch it out like that. And before I knew what vocal stims were, that's what we would do. We would get on the trolley, and there were so many bits that I remember from each individual year that I could probably place the years just by knowing what I was watching on TV. What year was Total Drama World Tour airing, which I did rewatch while we were
2010.
Yeah. What year was the Fred movie where he goes to camp? Even like My Babysitter's a Vampire.
Probably 2011 or 12.
I think it was like,
no, maybe a little bit after.
I remember
it might have
airing
been 2013 actually.
It was airing the same year, I believe, as Revenge of the Island. So it is probably
then it was 2012. But yeah, by that point I wasn't really watching. Honestly, like, I made a video about Fred, but I was talking to someone, and they told me that actually it's a really meaningful, nostalgic movie for them. And like, even when I was a kid, I was like, this is dumb.
Yeah.
Like, I like the movie more as an adult than I did as a kid. As a kid, I'm just like, this is just, just like lowbrow.
Which it is. There are specific bits I remember liking, but we said that about, I think, Cat in the Hat as well. Nothing is devoid of good bits occasionally.
Yeah.
But
no, absolutely. I still think that like the guy playing Kevin is like surprisingly enjoyable.
It's like a 30-year-old dude just doing his best. He got cast in a Fred movie. He's like, oh, this will be a good opportunity. And then the monkey's paw curled, and it's like, oh, you have to play Kevin for 5 more years. Put him in a backwards cat.
Honestly, like, Jeanette McCurdy was lucky that she could kind of get away with not coming back.
Yeah, and then Daniela Monet also didn't come back, so they just didn't have that character in the show. Or Judy? Judy left after the first movie, and then Bertha, the friend character, who was played by Jeanette McCurdy in the first movie, and then Daniela Monet in the second movie does not exist in the show. I imagine because she didn't want to sign on for an entire show. I don't believe so. Maybe she was in a couple episodes.
I could have sworn I saw a clip of Fred the Show, and I saw I don't think of her by her name. I think of her as Tori's sister.
Right. You don't even have her character's name.
Oh yeah, no, I think it's Trina, but that's the kind of thing that I think I know, but I don't know well enough that I don't want to say it like lest I get it wrong.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Where you kind of are kind of think it's something, but there's enough room for doubt that you don't want to like be confident about it and then say some stupid shit that makes everyone look at you like you're crazy.
Oh, I love doing that.
Yeah. I don't know. It reminds me of like. Because like people are so judgmental when you like forget a name or forget how to pronounce a word. Like when I was 15, I pronounced tetanus as satanus, and the guy and like this like look of like disgust this person had for me was just so like vitriolic that I kind of thought to myself, we really look down on other people over really stupid things. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But that's, when you're with the same group of people growing up, that sticks with you. They're never going to forget it. I was talking with some other people about this. Like, imagine, I think there was some school somewhere, they were like describing it to me, and they're like, oh, it's all the same building. Like grade school, high school, middle school, all the same building. Or it's all the same people or something like that. And just imagine, like, you pee your pants in like 2nd grade. And then you're like a junior, and your friends are like, hey, this dude pissed his pants in class. Like, that's just what... Imagine if they follow you to college, and they're like, oh, yeah, this dude pissed his pants. When you were like 7 years old.
You know, one thing that adults like doing too much is telling people they knew as baby, like people that they like. For example, like let's say your nephew or your friend's kid or whatever, and then it's like 15 years later, you're like telling this teenager, "Yeah, I've known you since you wore diapers, dude." It's
Mm-hmm.
like, dude, I remember that time. I remember when before you could use the toilet on your own, you had to shit in a fucking bag.
It was
Remember
last
that,
year.
buddy? It's like,
Yeah,
I
that's.
don't know.
I mean, my mom
It's
does
like
that a lot. I was
it's
like,
like
"Oh, do you
annoying and
remember that?"
condescending.
Yeah, it was like, "Oh, do you remember this person? You met them when you were like 7." It's like, well, then no, I don't. I didn't meet them then. There was a child that was me that met them, but I don't remember.
I actually think I have a pretty good memory of my childhood. Like I think I remember things surprisingly well.
I think all of mine are
But
just
you know,
TV or movie based.
obviously though, I mean, it's not really, you don't really form meaningful relationships with people at that age. At least at the, well, no, you definitely do. Never mind. That's some bullshit that I just said.
Hmm.
But
Kids aren't people; they
obviously
don't have souls.
you like when your only interaction is like maybe saying hi and like hugging someone you don't even know. I mean, you don't really kind of absorb those relationships very meaningfully, I think.
Yeah,
It's like, oh yeah, my aunt's cousin's what's her name or whatever.
yeah. I mean, I'm no neurologist, neuroscientist. I don't know, but I maybe this isn't my theory. I think this is just a general theory that like we don't actually remember that far back. We're just remembering the memory. And the more we like
There's some truth to that, yeah.
yeah, actively remember it. So I think there is something to be said of like if you're not tending to a relationship, you're just gonna forget about it. Like if it's not someone you're
Yeah,
talking to at least
absolutely.
every year, you're probably not gonna remember who they are.
Yeah, because yeah, that is definitely a big at least from my own experience, intuitively, it would make sense that what one of the big things that reinforces memory is thinking about it throughout your life. So, you know, the big thing, I think I genuinely remember things from when I was like 4 and 5. There are like scattered memories from when I was 2 and 3, but those are very few and far between. And
Hmm.
I think the only reason I remember them is that I kept thinking about them as I got older. So like
I'm gonna remember
I
this.
yeah.
I mean,
It's like, oh, I better not forget that.
circling back to the idea when I was saying about the vacation is that there was in the summer of Stoked, I talk about there's a lot of things that I have fond memories of and give me like a warm feeling about that show that I thought were just me remembering the show, remembering the aesthetic of the show. But being on this trip and being back to this beach for the first time since I was 15 or 16, oh, 16 mentioned. There are a number of things there that I didn't notice or maybe didn't register or remember when I was younger that actually have a lot in common with Stoke. We were at an ice cream place and there was a big sign that said like, "Oh, we supply employment and housing." And I was confused by that. So I was asking around and apparently there is like some big beach house that like teens can go to the beach to work there for the summer and then they live in a big shack like that of Stoked. And then also when we were looking for stuff to do while at this beach house on this beach, there was this pamphlet, this little coffee table book. Scrolling through it, and it had all like all the local places. Check out, well, watch out for wild horses. Go on the ghost tour. Go karting. Actually, it was a little underwhelming because a lot of the places we checked out for nostalgic reasons, it seems they've all mostly shut down. Even like the water
Mm.
sports area seemed to completely dry out. There was a video store there, like filled with tapes, like hundreds of tapes. And it seems like it was abandoned, like all of a sudden. Like we were pointing our cameras inside there, and there were like, yeah, posters. There was an ad for the first season of Mad Men airing on HBO, and asked all the
Wow.
people like in the buildings around it, and nobody knows who owned it, or like they said it had been closed as long as they had been there. We couldn't get in contact with anyone, but there's so many tapes, and the ones that are closest to the glass are like all blue. They're completely sun damaged. Just completely unattended to tapes in there.
Wow. Is it,
It's
I assume it's locked then.
yeah, I mean we definitely tried to get in. But while paging through this coffee table book of different things to check out in the state, I'm going to show this on screen. Happened across this page of this I believe I don't know if it's a pirate themed restaurant, but all I saw was this woman, the waitress, dressed in this gear which is a gimmick that exists within the, I don't know if you've watched Stoked recently, but I believe
I,
this.
I I kind of watched the first like 14 or 15 episodes back in like fall of 2023, and I kind of
Yeah.
stopped. I do want to get back to it and watch the
After the
whole
summer
show.
of Stoked. Well, like Stoked but
Yeah.
real. Yeah, this is where Emma works. So this is everything I remember about Stoked was also true about this vacation place we were at, and it was really strange to me to notice that all this stuff was real. All this stuff that I remembered as being a thing from the cartoon, and then a memory hole, and I'm like, oh, this was just something in the show. That's why I remember it. No, it existed. I don't think I've
It's
ever
like a
been
real
to this.
thing.
I don't think I've ever been to this wench themed restaurant, but it exists. And maybe someday I
Yeah.
will. I don't know if I'm ever going back to that beach, but it was nice to like go there and see what was going on. But earlier we were just kind of saying a bunch of gibberish buzzwords about what new stuff has happened, what's the new modern internet lingo speak, what do we miss, what are people talking about in the time since we've been gone. And you mentioned Love Island, I believe. And while
Mhm.
at this beach house, because it was family and then family friends, it was the same group of people we would always hang out with every year at the beach. It became a Love Island household, I suppose, where every night we would have everyone gather around to watch Love Island. And I try not to get a big head about these things or like turn my nose up because, entertainment is entertainment. I mostly watch YouTube videos anyway, so who am I to say anything? But I felt like I was sat down in front of the Super Bowl again. Like you hear so often about those sports ball people who don't like sports and try and make it their whole personality that it's sports or that they don't like sports. And then you hear that you're like, yeah, those people are miserable. And then you're forced to watch a sports game and you're like, oh wait, no, right, I remember. It was sort of the same
Yeah.
thing. Where if I was just hearing about Love Island on my feed, I'd be like, you know what, let people enjoy things. But the fact that I had to watch it, I was like, oh wow, this is awful.
Yeah. It's funny. I mean, you could argue this is kind of like, I don't think it's racist, but I saw this joke and it is kind of funny that like, Love Island, being this popular is a recession indicator because historically, the most popular show in America weren't shows like this. Like this would be the most popular show in like Mexico or something. I thought that was kind of funny,
I think I
even
did see
though
that too. Or like
it's
you
a
travel
little,
somewhere and turn on the TV. I mean, that's
yeah,
like
it's like,
I think that it's just reality shows, like these
yeah.
exist everywhere.
Yeah, because they're cheap to make. There actually is a really interesting video. I might not have been a video. I think I might have heard about it. Yeah, I don't even remember the shit I watch anymore. But it kind of basically, there was like someone wrote or looked into the fact that the boom of reality shows in the early 2010s and aughts, like in Duck Dynasty, Jersey Shore, a lot of those big shows. Frankly, Toddlers and Tiaras as well. Like the popularity they got and the amount of success they had was in large part due to the writer's strike of '08.
Yeah. They had
Just because,
story editors that aren't legally writers that you didn't have to
yeah,
pay as such.
yeah. So that's one of the big reasons that that kind of TV really blew up.
Hmm.
But I never got into it. I mean, there are times that I kind of wish I was into reality TV. Like I wish I was into Survivor, but I wouldn't even know how to get into Survivor. You know what I mean? Like, do I start with season 1, episode 1, or do
That's
I
what
kind
I
of
would
jump
do.
in? It's like,
So much to binge. I mean, there was a period of time where I was watching the Sci-Fi Network a lot, and I would watch like King of the Nerds, which I think we've talked about before. And there was a show called Face Off where it was another like, oh, a bunch of people live together, or I don't know if they live together, I don't remember. And people are eliminated every other episode, and they have to do challenges, but all the challenges are VFX based, or not VFX, but just regular effects based. Like they were makeup and prosthetic people, and they're like, oh, make an alien, but it's his birthday or whatever, and they would have to make
mhm,
prosthetics on a character. And they would go through the entire program of like seeing the concept art, the original sketches, the concept just in general, and then the original print, the original sculpt, all stuff like that. I thought it was really fun. I don't think there's anything wrong
mhm.
inherently with reality shows, if you're telling me about that show, I'd be like, yeah, whatever, it's a reality show, it's not for me, but I understand it. But being forced to watch the show, it is, I think saying brain numbing is unfair because I see the appeal, right? I think it's sort of like a pseudo ironic thing. Not that people are watching it ironically, but people are watching it to be like, oh my God, get a load of these guys. And then you watch the show and the people on it are acting stupid and not understanding basic concepts. And then you watch the show and you turn up your nose like, oh man, this person's silly. But
Mhm.
the purpose of that show, YouTube chat says, used to watch Face Off weekly. I used to love Face Off, and then someone would get voted off, and I would sprint upstairs to tell my mom that someone got voted off. No one else cared, but I really like the show. I haven't been catching up with it. I don't know if it's still on. Maybe it's worth getting back into. But a show like Love Island, where this is where the satire of total drama comes from. It is just hot people. It is simply just hot people that show up not for the prize money or any challenge, really, just to be hot and cheat and make out with each other. And then when the show's over, they all get a dedicated Instagram following and they become influencers. So much so that there's a popular one on the show named Huda, I think, and I keep seeing her trending, that I saw a TikTok on my feed of like somebody, they're like, oh man, I fell for the fake Huda AI scam. And the quote unquote scam was an AI generated video of Huda being like, oh, I love this skincare thing. You should buy this. Like, that's not a scam. If you're stupid enough to just buy whatever a person who was on a show to look hot will sell you, then you kind of deserve to lose your money. Like, that's really on you, man. There's entirely different worlds going out there. And again, I don't want to turn up my nose or try and get a big head about it or be like, I'm above this. But there really are, you don't really notice this stuff until you actually step outside and be like, whoa, people are watching some strange shit.
Yeah, I mean, I remember like the whole meme of like there are worlds, there are levels of human existence that we know nothing about. Usually hear people say stuff like that when they bring up, maybe like trash
Love Island's
TV,
a coworker show.
or like really niche kind of like Reddit communities. Like, I saw a meme the other day. It's just a picture of a guy with a vacuum cleaner collection on Reddit vacuum.
I saw that too.
And it's like oh, there are worlds there are facets of human existence that none of us like will ever experience, or some shit like that.
And they all have a thriving community.
Because I haven't how long is an episode of Love Island, by the way?
Like an hour, I think. And it's every day. It's every weekday for like 2 months.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Man, that's kind of,
well, I think it's 2 days ahead of time. Like, they get all the footage from 2 days ago and then edit it into a quote unquote viewable episode, and by that I mean nothing really happens.
Oh, they must have like really, really fast editors, though. I guess, to be fair, I mean, if you have like I don't know like how realistic this kind of what's the word, this like these logistics would be, but if you had like 20 editors and you needed them to all kind of put together, like a 40-minute video, like episode in a couple days, you could probably do that.
They're probably doing it in real time too. Well, that's the thing about like, I think saying that it's fake is a little too precise and too easy. Like, I don't think that the people on the show or any reality show are literally playing characters. I do think, however, given the setup of, how the show works, if you're doing something entertaining for the camera, you are more likely to get screen time on the show. And America votes who they want to be eliminated from the Love Island, so you obviously want more screen time more than less, even if it makes you seem like a jackass or a dickhead. And there is something just to, even if you're not intentionally trying to, you're going to act differently when a camera is on you, whether you think you are or not. Twitch chat says, I don't see anything wrong with turning up your nose to weird shit. Yeah, but it's not, like, harmful. At least I don't think. Like, you could argue, like, well, this is killing society, or, oh, we're so stupid nowadays. I don't think this is why. I think that might be true, but I don't know if this show is lending to that. I think stupid, I don't want to call it, well, people are going to watch stupid shit regardless. I don't think the show is making people dumber. I just don't think it's worth taking a moral grandstanding high ground on the show that like is fine. It's harmless. If you're gonna fall for scams, you were gonna fall for them anyway.
One thing I've always found interesting is the fact that well, I mean, I not always found interesting. I just say things. I don't even know what I was saying. But what I was
ever since I was a baby.
Ever since I was a baby, I've had this opinion of Love Island, because I was like, I was like moving towards a TV show opinion that I've had for a couple days. I've only known Love Island's existed for a few days, but it's on its 7th season, right? Like, why is it suddenly just kind of going so big now? That's what kind of came off as weird to me. Not in like a suspicious way, but I'm curious what specifically about this season, or like what specifically caused Love Island to be as big as it is right now. You know what I mean?
Recession indicator?
Yeah, something like that.
That's probably it's got to be something like that. But Twitch chat says, I don't think it has to be actively harmful for you to turn up your nose to it. If it's stupid, then it's stupid. Granted, I haven't seen the show. It's just not. It's easier for me to be like, oh, this is stupid, I don't want to watch this, and then not. I just happen to be stuck at
As I was saying a mere seconds ago, as our video editing proves.
Yes.
I think like
clock in the background.
People will often pretend, or kind of turn their nose up just for a sense of superiority, but everyone likes to pretend the things they do are done for much more cerebral reasons than they actually are. And what I mean by that is that, for example, I guess one of the big things is that people will pretend that they like TV shows because they're clever or they really have like some sort of brain to them. And there's actually some truth to that, but I think a lot of people sometimes seem to be not willing to admit that they like watching stuff that is escapist for them. They just kind of like to turn their brain off, as we use that term sometimes, and that term in itself is
don't
kind
like
of
that term, or the idea
yeah.
of like watching something to quote turn your brain off, because
But
that's not
honestly, I think
true.
people do it a lot more than they do.
I think even if you
Like,
don't believe you're with like retaining information or learning something or challenging your brain, I think you still are, even if you don't literally think you are.
you are turning your brain off, or
I don't think you're ever turning your brain off. Like, obviously
Mm.
not in a literal
Yeah,
sense, but also just in a metaphorical sense. Like, even if you think you're watching something that isn't challenging, there's always going to be something in there that's just making you think.
yeah. Well, that's true. I guess in the sense that like there's a lot of stuff that I do that isn't particularly intellectually stimulating, and I guess I'm kind of struggling to make the point. What I'm reminded of is back when I was a kid. I was like a really, and this is me admitting to being kind of a dick. I used to be a dick about some things when I was a teenager. Remember, I was a teenager
Yeah,
when I was like
shocking
this.
surprise.
But I remember really being like mean to people who only played casual mode of Fire Emblem. Like I would often kind of say that, you know, they were like they were like the worst kind of fans or whatever. I would just like make fun of people who did it, because in my eyes, I would say this is that the point of Fire Emblem is the strategy. You know, the point that you play those games for the strategy. When you play casual mode, you're effectively removing the chance of even losing the game, because honestly the only way you lose or get a game over in Fire Emblem with casual mode is you lose all your units in one battle, and frankly that very rarely happens. That only really happens if that only happens in classic mode if you've basically lost so many units that effectively your game is unwinnable. You basically made it, and that's kind of part of the challenge of the game is the management of, you know, your warriors and stuff like that. And I think on some level that is part of the richness of the Fire Emblem experience. But I mean, there's a reason why people still like playing Fire Emblem games even without the permadeath. And actually, do you know about Fire Emblem permadeath, by the way? I'm kind of assuming you do.
Explain it just in case our audience doesn't know.
Okay.
I'm gonna say
So
that I know everything. Just pretend I don't.
okay. So effectively, historically in Fire Emblem is kind of a series of, you know, strategy games with kind of, I guess you'd say, anime characters. And ever since the NES version, or at least from that point up until I think 2011, whenever a unit died in the game, they died for real. They died not in real life, but you couldn't
If you
use them
die in the
anymore.
game, you die for real.
Yeah. So for example, if you have a character and they get to 0 HP in battle, they either die, or they might, if they're still important for the story, they'll say that they can't fight anymore. They're like out of commission, basically. And that basically makes it so that either you Iron Man it or you reset. And this is kind of more, Iron Manning is basically a term for when you play a Fire Emblem game or a similar game with similar consequences. And even if you lose stuff, you keep on going. You don't reset at all. You don't like save scum or anything. And then there's also the kind of resetting mode where basically if you don't want any deaths, you just reset whenever you lose a unit, basically in any chapter. I usually will play with the reset mode, so I play with permadeath. But you know, I mean, I usually will keep playing the chapters until I find a strategy that eliminates any casualties. But around 2011, or it might have been 2009 or 10, there was a Japan only game where they introduced like a casual mode, which basically meant that all your units come back at the end of the game, at the end of a map. So like, oh, if one unit dies, I mean, it doesn't matter at all. You can use them the next turn, the next game, and basically the next chapter. And basically because of that, effectively, there's not really much of a consequence to losing anything in the game. I mean, if you win the chapter with, like, you know, you lose 2 units, it doesn't really affect anything. And that kind of changes the whole difficulty of the game, because frankly there really isn't that much at that point. And I think because of that, and then actually after that game, Awakening came out worldwide, and that was a huge game for the Fire Emblem series. Frankly, it probably saved the series from kind of just going down under. And I think a big part of its success was because it was released worldwide. It had a big marketing campaign, and it had the casual mode, which I think was very inviting to a lot of new players. So I think because of that, there was kind of a pre-awakening and post-awakening kind of split between fans.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole casual mode thing being available, the fact that there was a casual mode, whether you like it or not, whether it's a good thing or not, definitely changed the identity of the community, along with other things in Awakening. But because the fact that one of the big challenges of the game was now made optional meant the game was a lot more accessible, and in a lot of ways that's a good thing. But it definitely does mean that the community at large does become a bit more casual. And I think in many ways that's a good thing. I think it is altogether a good thing because, I think games like that are fun, and there's still fun stories, fun characters, and, people being able to enjoy it without necessarily having to put in the time and kind of brain power to play those games, effectively and really challenge themselves and make the perfect strategies. I think that's fine. I think it's good for the series. And, I think there are many ways to enjoy a video game. But yeah, I mean, the game's kind of not really that challenging anymore. All that's to say is that I was kind of a dick and I called people casuals and stuff.
Right. If you
And
cheat, you're
I
not
think
only cheating the game, but you're cheating yourself as
Yeah,
well.
and I would say that, like, why do you even play the game? There's literally no reason to play it. And it was kind of a way to imply that the reason people will still play it for, I mean, frankly, people like doing stuff in games even if they don't lose. That's one thing I've realized, and I like people, like, even if there's basically no way to lose, people will still enjoy playing a game.
Yeah.
First of all, I mean, this isn't the NES era anymore. Like, and that's why in a lot of, that's the whole joke, is that like Sony games, press one button and you win the game. Games have much more modular difficulty these days, and
And there's
sometimes
cinematic
games don't really have
experiences.
any difficulty at all. And I think some people don't like that, but nowadays usually you'll have like different modes and stuff like that. But I think that because of that, the community changes. I think the kind of people that play the games change. And as a kid, I kind of would imply that there's literally no reason to play the game if you're not kind of dealing with strategy, or like doing a lot of the strategy in the critical thinking. But now that I'm an adult who has a lot of things to do, and frankly would rather spend his time doing something productive or making money or stuff like that, when I play a video game, I often don't go for the hardest difficulty. I don't really challenge myself because, frankly, life already stretches me pretty thin. I'm not really looking forward to video games as a source of like intense kind of intellectual challenge because, dude, I'm just trying to. I kind of go to video games to relax in a lot of ways, and I'm not in the mood to be frustrated by games. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
So I mean, I still sometimes, I don't want to like people to think I'm too like I think nowadays, I'm not as interested in playing games where I really feel pressured to, grind and get really good at the game. Like I'd rather, video edit,
Yeah. I don't think I've ever had like a competitive spirit. Ever since I was a kid, like I liked playing, and I said this before, that I kind of lost my passion for something like soccer when people wanted me to be on a team where there were games and tournaments and locals and whatever, where the stakes would be high and the game would stop being fun. I wanted to play soccer with my friends, but instead it became like, oh, if you lose, everyone's pissed at you. I never had a competitive spirit when it came to sports, and even when it comes to games. I think I'm just happy to be playing a board game or a video game with friends or just anyone that's around, that the fun of me having and playing a game it vastly outweighs any potential negative feelings I could get by losing that game. And the same thing happened recently, where I went to a movie theater and I was like, oh, let's see a bunch of movies in a row. And the first two movies were bad. And I was with people and I was ready to keep going. Whereas the mood of the rest of the group was more like, oh, those were like more upset. Like, oh, these movies were bad. Now I'm like upset about it. And that's not the first time that's happened. I've definitely gone to movies before. It happened when me and my roommates went to go see Beau is Afraid, which I don't know if you know, but that is a very,
I've heard of it.
it is a very upsetting and strange movie. And I guess it is sort of the same opinion as the live action Cat in the Hat, where I like it. I understand it's not a good movie, but I would rather a movie be weird and bad than boring and bad. So I'm glad it just does a lot of insane, zany shit. And there's parts of it I really like. And I'm excited to see Ari Aster's new Joaquin Phoenix film. I think next week or maybe the week after. Give me that Aster slop. but my one roommate was like legitimately pissed about it. And maybe it's because I don't pay for the movie ticket, I just pay for the monthly thing. And maybe it's because I think my thing is I just love being at the movie theater so much that even if I see a bad movie, I'm like having a good time still. That I think I could probably see 3 bad movies in a row in a day and just be like, oh, that was good. It's because I like seeing movies at the theater. And similarly, you know, if I'm playing a game, even if I'm losing, you know, if I'm playing a game with friends and we're like, I don't know, we form a squad and we're playing online or whatever, or even like playing against each other, and I lose like colossally, like I lose like 20 or so matches in a row, I'm still having fun because I like playing the game. Granted, there is a limit to this. Like, if I can't do anything, like if I'm playing a fighting game and I'm just getting juggled so much that I'm not even playing the game, then I don't get upset, but I'm like, this isn't fun because I'm not even playing the game. But if there's like a fighting chance and I'm still losing, then I'm always going to have fun. I don't really have that competitive spirit. I think I just like doing all of these things.
Yeah.
That's the extent of how I feel about game difficulty. I think I normally just try and go for normal. I like doing challenge runs of things. I don't view any difference of people who choose to play like an easier mode or purposely play a game on easy mode, because at the end of the day, they're still playing the game. The only thing, and I think I've said this before just for personal reasons, when I'm streaming, I don't like to look up like online walkthroughs. I either go off of backseating from the chat, or an in-game mechanic that pushes me in the direction, like I was with the Tears of the Kingdom app tie-in, or it has to be old hardware like that of a strategy guide or Nintendo Power, because at least then it feels like I'm interacting with the game in a more interesting way.
You know, you should do sometime. You should play Earthbound with the strategy guide.
Oh, does it like colossally fuck you over?
No, not really.
Is
but
it just wrong?
it's like, I don't think so. I mean, but it's you know, it's kind of like a famous part of the whole game, because back when it first came out, they forced people to buy the strategy guide along with in some giant ass box. Probably why the game sold so poorly, because they have this strategy guide with scratch and sniffs in it and stuff like that.
Oh, I
But
did
it's
hear
cool.
about this.
One thing they have in the strategy guide is like all the towns you go to, they have like a newspaper for that town. It's like a really cool strategy guide. I think it'd probably be fun, especially if you haven't played the game before, to play it while reading the strategy guide.
Yeah, that's what I was doing with I believe Superstar Saga. Like I started playing Mario and Luigi in preparation for Brothership, and I had the strategy guide. I was like, oh, I'll follow this. And I do like looking at a physical map a little more. There's a lot of games, like when I was playing Banjo-Kazooie, I wanted to draw a physical map, and this kind of happened when I was playing DK64 lately, getting ready for Bananza. By the way, I don't know if we mentioned it. This is the final podcast before Bananza. Bonanza comes out in a couple days.
Out Thursday, right?
Yeah, Thursday. Yes.
I assume. Yeah.
Well, just because if we want to stream, I mean, I'm going to stream it regardless. I might stream it for like double.
I might have to wait a couple. Well, actually, I mean, I'm going on a plane at like 8 a.m. on Thursday, because that'd be an awesome game to play on the plane, but I don't think I'll be able to.
Right. I mean, we'll see how it loads out.
Unless, never mind. I can get a digital copy if I really want to.
True. You can get it at midnight. But there's.
Oh yeah, I can. Yeah.
Some of those games that don't have dedicated maps, and there's some games that when it comes to difficulty options, like maybe if we're talking about difficulty still, the prospect of like save states, and I do think you could totally save state scum some games and just make it basically like no challenge whatsoever. But what I like to do when it comes to save states is just kind of cut out monotony. I think the only game where I use save states that like obsessively or over and over was when I was playing Super Metroid. And if you're lost in Super Metroid, sometimes you're like, maybe there's something
all the way back.
Yeah, maybe there's something at the bottom of the map. But if you go all the way down there and there's nothing there, then you have to go all the way back up. So I do the save state before I go down there, and then I check, and if there's nothing there, I do think there's like different quality of life changes. And I think that's why I was talking about something like Banjo-Kazooie or Donkey Kong 64. I mean, there's a lot of changes that could be made at Donkey Kong 64. I don't think that one holds up nearly as well. But honestly, just being able to look at a physical map, it may seem like a modern gaming convention, but it seems unheard of to not have a map in a modern game. And speaking of both Donkey Kong and Banjo-Kazooie, unless there's anything you still wanted to say about game difficulty and a chip on your shoulder.
One thing I wanted to say is that actually, I think I would usually play with save states in Banjo-Kazooie,
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I did, at least on my first playthrough, and the big reason I did was because at least on the N64 version, if you die, you have to get all the music notes again. And that was
Yes.
literally only just to save memory. And there were a couple times where I had like 97 trying to find the last 3 fucking stragglers, and it takes me like half an hour, and then I just die and have to start all over. It's really frustrating. And I mean, when they re-released the game on the Xbox 360, they changed it so once you get the music piece, like you have it forever, and you don't like reset to 0 every single time you go into the level. I think that's ridiculous, especially because when Banjo Tooie came around, you were kind of expected to go between levels a lot. I don't know. And
Yeah.
also regarding save states, I had a conversation with someone the other day, and they were talking about how bad Mario the Lost Levels is. A lot of people don't like that game.
Yes, that one is famously difficult.
Yeah. And I kind of said, like, the game's actually pretty fun when you use save states. And they're like, well, that's cheating. And I'm like, yeah, but there's a reason why everyone hates it without save states.
Yeah.
Because it has a lot of like goofy difficulty, weird things, invisible. Like there's goofy shit in that game. And if you modify the game so it's kind of like one of those, like hard platformers that gives you a bit, basically you get a checkpoint every single.
Yeah, I was gonna
like,
say
screen.
those classic rage bait games like Cat Mario and I Want to Be the Guy, like they're arguably less difficult because I'm not saying they're not difficult, but they're more fun to play because while they are frustrating, you still spawn right back like where you were. So it being unfair is more funny than it is like, fuck, I have to go all the way back now.
Yeah, and it's a whole different style of, like, I guess, difficulty cycle. But I think honestly, a lot of games can be made a lot more fun if you just do shit like that and just kind of do trial and error. Not to say, but I mean, I guess I'm a cheater for that. But whatever, dude. I'll cheat in Mario. I'll cheat in Mario the Lost Levels. Like I don't need to play that game cold turkey. You know.
I don't think there should be one set way to play it. I think if playing it easier like gets you into the game, that's totally fine. Like that's what I would do. I would play the older Mario games with save states, and then I would get them on NES, and I'd be like, okay, let me actually try and beat them like on classic hardware.
Yeah.
Because I enjoy doing both anyway.
Yeah. One thing I will say though, and this is me just kind of like covering my own ass.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I do believe is that it is kind of valuable to remember the context in which it like how a lot of these games were released without save data, or were released with like without the ability to speed it up. Because I've played Mother 1, Earthbound 0, and it's a controversial game just because it has a lot of NES sluggishness that is kind of annoying in some NES RPGs. And I made my review of it, and I was pretty critical of it, despite the fact that I like the game, for some of the annoying NES bits. And I've had people say that it wasn't hard at all, or like it wasn't actually that sluggish. And then I literally asked them if they sped the game up or used save states, and they say yes. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's exactly why. I mean, one of the things I did in that video is I refused to use save states. I didn't speed the game up at all because I wanted to kind of like capture how it's definitely it's asking a lot of you.
Do you remember that
without stuff like that?
From a couple years back, that Lily Orchard video where she was talking about like the problem with modern Pokemon games? And in one of them,
I think I would rather die than watch a Lily or
I didn't watch the video, but
well, I mean, it's so funny because actually there was a point in time where I was kind of obsessed with watching Lily Orchard when I was like 14.
That's an insane
like 12
thing
to 14.
That's way more embarrassing.
It was really fun to watch her during the Glass of Water days. I loved watching her. I think there's just something to me at that age that was kind of not like sexually attractive, but like into stimulating about listening to someone who was that just angry and vengeful and like narcissistic, that when you listen to them and you kind of try, there's something kind of that makes you feel alive when you watch her or people like her. But I think around 2017 I was at the point that this person is just like reprehensible. I'm not watching her anymore.
Yeah. I was never into it. I mean, obviously, like,
that,
I saw the one video that people always talk about, of a show I like. They're like, you should watch this video. And I watched it. I think I've seen it a couple times. And there's just so many... There are things to say about that show, but that video... I think there are criticisms.
Was it Steven Universe?
Yeah, I think there are criticisms for Steven Universe, but some of the most... I say, like, the 3 most popular videos that talk about Steven Universe are like, oh, this is why it's bad. are so in bad faith and make insane comparisons and arguments that it's just, if I didn't know anything about Steven Universe and I watched those videos, well, one, maybe I just believe whatever they say at face value, but two, I'd be like, oh, this doesn't make me dislike the show at all. This is insane what you're saying. But
Yeah.
she did a video, I think, a couple years back, like talking about, a modern Pokemon game and the problems with it. But she modded the game so that her starter was a Ralts and did not ever evolve this Ralts and went through a whole game with Ralts. And they were just because like she really liked Ralts, I guess. And then people, responded to it as like, hey, yeah, this thing's really difficult, or this is happening because you refuse to use anything other than a Ralts. And she was like, well,
One
no,
of the weakest fucking Pokemon ever.
yeah, like, what are you doing, man? You're just making, like, I'm not even saying this to defend modern Pokemon games. Like, I think you could just go through a normal playthrough and have problems with it. But that's like, you're just making problems that don't exist.
Yeah, that reminds me of a friend of mine. I love this friend very dearly. He's a lot older than me. But one thing he once told me, he was complaining about this game that just broke. And he said that like the game would always break at this one moment. And then I think like 2 sentences later, he brought up that he was using an infinite health and infinite ammo cheat. And I'm like, well, there's the fucking issue, dude.
Yeah, just play the game.
Like, he thinks the game. I hate being so condescending, but sometimes when you edit the in-game memory to give you infinite amounts of health and ammo, it causes integer overflow and it makes the game work crash. That's probably what happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when people kind of like act like this game was made by idiots, I'm like, dude, I think when you're kind of going outside of the intended I guess way of playing the game, I don't think they're really responsible to make sure it works. You know what I mean? If you're cheating in a game and that causes glitches, like, yeah, no shit, it's not really their fault, or it shouldn't be their fault.
Built on top of that, since we were just talking about Rareware and Banjo-Kazooie and games of the like, it is this is something that a lot of information that happened basically right after we left off in the previous episode and then had another recap. It's time for a momentous celebration. It's time for the yearly Xbox layoffs. I love when they do this. Yeah, when they you know how they are. They buy up a new company and it's all exciting, like, oh, Xbox owns this company now. And then in about a year's time, they liquidate other subsidies, or they get rid of half the company and lay off hundreds of people. And a lot of it happened with our good friends over at Rareware. Damn, that lightning was close. Anyway, I'm going to thug through it. That we've talked about this before. We talk about it a lot, actually, and we were just talking about Banjo, where when you hear Rareware, you sort of have the idea of we're sort of in a form of Arrested Development when it comes to, Xbox bought Rareware and then they fell off, right? Still stuck in that 2000s, 2010 syndrome where nothing ever came of it, where we got Banjo-Kazooie nuts and bolts and then nothing else. But and we're going to talk about a potential new Banjo-Kazooie game within this, but the same thing happens with a lot of game studios where only in name and only in IP is it the same company. Like, I feel like it is Rareware, and maybe there are some people who have been presidents there for a long time, asterisk, that it's not the same thing, right? Rareware is not Banjo-Kazooie and Donkey Kong 64 and Conker's Bad Fur Day. Modern Rareware was a huge hit for Xbox in a game like Sea of Thieves, which it took a while to really get its footing, but was a huge hit for Xbox. That was one of the first like major exclusives, although it is like cross-platform with stuff like PC. That was like one of the first new IP in a very long time that Xbox had. I mean, of course, they had Hi-Fi Rush, but then they liquidated the company that made it and laid everyone off. But after that, after the massive success of Sea of Thieves, I don't think a lot of people, or maybe I wasn't really holding out on the prospect of there being a reintroduction of these older Rare IPs and rather seeing what they were doing moving forward. And they had a new IP, a new game moving forward after the success of Sea of Thieves called Everwild, which I actually don't know a whole lot about other than it being a new Rareware IP. And there was maybe a trailer at some point that was really just, a CG trailer at one of the big showcases that has been canceled, as there were a ton of layoffs in Rareware and sources, quote unquote, a lot of people internally. Weirdly enough, a lot of the sources we're going to cover are people that don't work at Rare and haven't worked at Rare in a while, but are technically connected to people who did work at Rare, or currently, did as in, like, they've all been fired. But not only has Everwild been canceled by Xbox, several Xbox layoffs, but apparently The I believe, let me see, Banjo-Kazooie Sea of Thieves director leaves Rare after 35 years following Everwild cancellation. So this is director, the main director of Greg Mayles. I'm sure you've heard that name before. Of several of these classic Rareware games and modern Rareware games. And it seems like Rareware as a whole are just being gutted. It was one of Rare's earliest design hires. His first credited game was Solar Jetman in 1990. So it's
Wow.
a lot of their modern games, and then we have seen. I mean, there's a lot of these posts on his account. Grant Kirkhope posting about Greg has been brilliant for as long as I've known him. If this is true, it's very sad. And then more posts about Perfect Dark being canceled and just saying, geez, a lot of this, just very upset about all of this. Of course, Grant Kirkhope doesn't work for Rare anymore. And that's sort of the dissonance or the connection is, again, like if Rareware was working on a modern version of one of these older platformers, most of the people that work there anymore, they now work on Yooka-Laylee. They now work for Playtonic. But circling back to this Perfect Dark game, the Perfect Dark game, which is technically a Microsoft IP, wasn't actually being made by Rareware. It was being made by ZeniMax or ZeniMax, which was, when it first came out, Xbox or Microsoft said that ZeniMax was their first quadruple A game studio. And I laugh every time that term is brought up. But
PlayStation 1 can produce some mind-boggling effects.
yeah, this game has been entirely canceled. I guess it was showed off at their Xbox Showcase 2024. But I don't know if you remember, but I was looking back at this, and I remember that this Perfect Dark game announcement happened at the same Game Awards where Sephiroth was shown up for Smash Bros. This was shown up at the Game Awards 2020. Yeah, The Initiative. It's the same company, or ZeniMax's new IP. Yeah, joining Everwild, a bunch of layoffs. Did you hear about any of this, any of these Xbox layoffs when it comes to Rareware?
Nah, admittedly, like I'm certain kinds of gaming news. This is probably not good for me to admit, like, are kind of just noise to me. I didn't actually know about the layoffs.
Well, it's not your fault.
But,
Like when you hear about them so often, there's only so many
it's
things.
like, people say Xbox layoffs. When I hear people say that, I'm like, are we talking about the ones that happened like the last time they?
Which year are we talking about?
It happens a lot that I'm not exactly sure. Like when the last time I heard it happened. Like, was it a year ago? Was it a couple weeks ago? Like, it's just.
I mean, the cycle
It's not
continues.
a thing I pay enough attention to know. Yeah, it happens all the time.
Xbox buys
too,
Bethesda
so
or Blizzard or Activision, and people are excited about what this means. Oh, these games are going to be on Game Pass. I think we talked about this when we were playing Switch 2, because my roommates have very strong opinions about like Game Pass being a much better deal. That it seems like, I mean, this is, I guess you could call it a Nintendo podcast. I would call it a Chinese podcast above all else, but there's a lot to be said there, and I don't think we're biased. I think we just like Nintendo games. That I think it's probably fair to say that from what I've heard, Nintendo is a better company to work for. It's more worker friendly than like consumer friendly, whereas Xbox seems to be overly consumer friendly with a deal like Game Pass, and then is constantly behind the board. Just, if you're a developer, why would you want to work for them, really? If games like this are just
Although
going to be canceled?
I imagine Xbox is still pretty behind with a lot of the Microsoft stuff when it comes to like user telemetry. I mean, a lot of games nowadays, they require you to make some like account and like share data and do like stupid stuff, like get external launchers and stuff. It's always really annoying. And I imagine Microsoft is not one of the good ones in that kind of regard.
Have you ever played a Perfect Dark?
No, I haven't. It's a shooter, right?
Yeah, it's a first person. I think it's really built off of something like GoldenEye 007, which is really big on N64. Because the first one was on an N64. I'm pretty sure it's one of the games you needed the expansion pass for. And then this was one of the few IPs that they did. Because, there's the narrative of, oh man, Xbox didn't make, or Rare didn't make anything for Xbox. But when Xbox launched, there was a Conker remake. There was a Perfect Dark Zero later in the year of the early Xbox. Even games on the 360 like Viva Pinata are grabbed by the ghoulies on the Xbox. Like, just because it wasn't Banjo doesn't mean they weren't trying to make games. They're still making games.
Yeah.
And there's the idea that Xbox like stole Rare from Nintendo. Rare was looking for someone to buy, and they pitched to Nintendo, and Nintendo said no. Like, I don't think Xbox stole anything. But this is a story we've been telling over and over again. And it's the story we will continue to hear, because on top of Perfect Dark, apparently there are quote-unquote insiders. Are you familiar with Nate the Hate at all? I think earlier this year, he was the person, the Famaborb's poster, who was referring to, oh, there's going to be a direct this day, and then it ended up being true. I don't know
I think I
where.
vaguely remember.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know where this lore comes from. I feel like every now and then there's a leaker, and then everyone's like, "Oh, this is a trustworthy guy." I think I need to start remembering names because it's someone I'm like hearing about for the first time. I'm like, well, if everyone says he's
Georgia men.
trustworthy, I just have to assume that this is our good friend Nate the Hate, who or I think it is. I mean, I follow the Twitter account. This is such a terrible. Well, this is from Grunty, serving grunt. This is such a terrible day for Rare and Rare IP. Rip Everwild and Perfect Dark. I'm going back to sleep. Edit. Is there any hope left for the Banjo game, Nate Drake, or is it dead too? He responds, haven't heard an update on that in a while. I'd assume it was shelved at this stage. It did exist when we spoke of it a couple years ago. So referring to a Banjo game in development. And I feel like there was such a huge moment when Banjo was added into Smash Bros. Like, we're still talking about it. That was 2020
Yeah.
as well. That it felt like
Wow.
that would have been the perfect time for them to make a comeback, right? But that was now 5
Yeah.
years ago, almost to the day. Well, probably
No,
like 5
6
years
years
and a month.
ago. 6 years ago, came out in 2019, actually.
You're right, it was 2019. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
crazy. And then nothing ever came of it for so long. Also, this is someone I just saw on my feed that just hit with the unfortunate news that my time at Bethesda has come to an end. I'm endlessly grateful for the opportunity to work on such incredible titles. Being said, I'm on the lookout for new game opportunities in marketing and publishing. Just worked on the Indiana Jones game that just came out last year. Hearing more about internal layoffs. This is what I was talking about when it comes to the crossover of who knows information, who doesn't. Where Andy Robinson says shit day to be a Rare fan, and then responds later in the day about to get shittier. This person, I believe, previously worked on Ukulele. I think works at Platonic, maybe? I believe so. So, again, grain of salt. This could mean anything. All we know, literally, like in front of our faces, is that Everwild and Perfect Dark were canceled. We're certain of that, more or less. But then there's been more and more information about, and this is also, I believe, 40 years. This is the 40th anniversary of Rareware. This was said a month ago, so that's really unfortunate. But this is Andy Robinson of the VGC podcast, which I think is tied to, this article we were reading or really scoping earlier, that on the podcast says pitches to Banjo-Kazooie games are being listened to. I heard constantly the name that comes up is Toys for Bob, who really want to do one. I heard Moon Studios as well, another one that's really interested. Now, this is something, again, these are just rumblings. We haven't heard anything solid about a new Banjo game, nor do I necessarily think we need a new Banjo game, although I think it would be cool just to see, just because I really like his Smash design as well, just to see what that would look like. But
yeah, honestly, I think maybe this is just, I think that this is a little pessimistic. I think a Banjo 3 would be kind of tepid off these considered. Like, I don't think it'd actually be that good.
Yeah.
It might be fun, but like, I don't know. I think it would definitely be kind of lacking the pizzazz that we like kind of hold, the esteem that we'd hold, like that we hold 1 and 2 in. Or to hold 1 in. I mean, 2, even 2 kind of like does things that get on my nerves.
It's the present tense equivalent of a lost media hunt. Like, that was other things that came out while we were, not came out, that makes it sound way more serious, that were happening in the communities we're interested in while we were gone for the previous week's episode of Switch 2 Ultra, that the original Backyardigans pilot was found. Me and my friends were there, were in those big costumes. I'm sure you saw some of it on your feed.
Yeah,
and then
I watched part of the clip.
Other people rolling their eyes, being like, why is it always baby shows? Whatever. There's discourse. There's always going to be something. It sort of feels like that. This or like Half-Life 3, or it is sort of the present tense equivalent of finding a demo of a game that we thought was lost, or the original version of a game that we didn't think existed. Even something like Star Fox 2 releasing as a part of the Super Nintendo Classic Edition. You want it to exist solely that it can exist. It doesn't really matter. Once it exists, by that point, the quality of it doesn't really matter. That's sort of how I felt about something like maybe the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. All I wanted from that movie is for it to use genuine puppets and animatronics, and I learned that ahead of the time. So my favorite thing about it was that they used puppets and animatronics, and then when I watched the movie, I was like, that wasn't a good movie. But I already got my enjoyment out of it because I wanted that to be true. I don't need there to be a new Banjo game. But it seems like people internally wanted to work on one, because this is something we've talked about before, that the people making games now, they grew up with these games. Of course, they're going to be emotionally tied to them. And we still haven't I don't think we have a release date for Yuka Replay. If you remember earlier this year, that was the first trailer to hint that there would be a Nintendo sequel console. Like, officially. Of course, there were leaks and whatnot. But
Yeah.
Toys for Bob being listed here used to be a subsidiary of Activision, and then, ironically enough, if we're telling the story over and over again, was liquidated by Xbox, by Microsoft, and now they've gone indie. Now Toys for Bob is doing their own thing. If you remember,
What does Toys for Bob do?
they made the Skylanders games, and then afterwards
Okay.
worked on the Crash Bandicoot and Spyro reboot games. Like, I think the last
Okay,
game
yeah,
they
that's
did
what I played then. That's
was
what I
that
played then. Yeah.
Crash 4v4 game. I don't remember what it's called. But yeah, now Toys for Bob is gone. But I guess they've gone indie. I'm glad they got to keep the name. It'd be really funny if Banjo also did that. Maybe this quote is misunderstanding the context or an older quote from an older video. Because Toys for Bob is no longer a part of Xbox. At least I don't believe so. But that seems to be the extent of all of these Xbox layoffs. And I thought it would just be worth bringing up that it specifically targeted Rareware this time. And the benefit of having Rareware, other than making really good games, I mean, that's just a generalization. I haven't played a lot of Sea of Thieves. I haven't formed a solid opinion on Sea of Thieves. And it's a shame that their new IP also got canned. But something like Rareware, I mean, the reason Xbox buys up all these companies is so they can have their IP, so they can have their games on Game Pass. And hearing that all these Rareware IP were canceled, all these games that were potentially in development and we're going to continue to get bad news. Ultimately, we're viewing this like from a gaming news standpoint, like, oh man, what if it's a Banjo-Kazooie game? But in actuality, like, a bunch of people just lost their jobs and Greg Mails no longer works at Rareware.
Yeah,
which is just sad.
That's a real bummer, especially
Mhm.
after 35 years.
Oh, here's the
Jeez.
Toys for Bob would love to work on a new Banjo-Kazooie. In an interview with content creator Canadian Guy A. Okay. Toys for Bob Studio heard Pollyann was asked which developers or IP would the studio love to work on. Okay, so this doesn't really mean anything. It's like in
Yeah.
the Smash speculation cycle when they like ask the Cuphead developers, like, would you want to see your character in the game? And they're like, yeah. Because why would you say no? Why would you say no, we don't want
Yeah.
to see our character in that game?
The only people who would say no are people who have the character in the game.
Right. 2020 Spencer
It's like,
said
oh.
that any revivals of classic Rare franchises were up to Rare itself. And again, like, I mean, other than the previous director who was working there, it seems like most of the people who did work at Rareware no longer work there. It's the equivalent. I mean, we talked about this when we were talking about all the game announcements during the Summer Games Fest. Like Konami doing a remake of Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater without the, the linchpin, the guy that people always credit to making Metal Gear Solid work. And I don't want to give all the credit to Kojima because it's never one man. And we've talked about this in reference to Sakurai. Like, it really is never just one guy. But it's so strange for like, oh no, Konami owns Metal Gear, let's do a remake of it, even though the guy who made the game is famously not here. Also, Death Stranding came out while we were gone. I've been hearing actually a lot of positive things about that game, strangely enough.
Didn't that game come out like 6 years ago?
That was the first game. Did you hear anything about Death Stranding 1? Because I remember it came out and people were like disappointed. Because it couldn't.
I remember hearing people say it was like really weird.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's all I really remember.
I mean,
like,
that is Banjo 3, the new Kojima game. It couldn't have possibly lived up to the hype.
Yeah. But I remember like Death Stranding had like a really weird kind of marketing campaign.
With the baby.
But, yeah, the baby.
That is.
But, I never played it.
Yeah, the extent of, I think it might, I don't know, I've been hearing, earlier I said I'd turn up my nose, like, oh, I wouldn't fall for this, but I think I am easily influenced by, like, edits. And I've been seeing a lot of Death Stranding 2 edits of a very specific character set to a very specific song, and it kind of makes me want to play it. Although it seems to be a narrative-heavy game, and I know Kojima's always been on that.
Yeah, it might not be your thing then, because,
that was all of this
I'm not
information.
sure. I assume it's similar with Death Stranding, but Metal Gear Solid is infamous for having like hour-long cutscenes.
Yeah. I imagine Death Stranding is almost the same way. Might be worth at least. Maybe I'll watch someone play it. It's been a while since I've like done that. Like gotten into a game instead of playing it. I watched a Let's Player or a streamer.
Just to get a vibe.
I gotta rough it a little bit. I gotta live like the peon that isn't a famous YouTube reviewer. I need to know what it's like to experience a game through a streamer. But that happened immediately after, well, not immediately after, but after we went off the air for the previous episode, and then obviously a lot of stuff is, let's lighten the mood a little bit with some stuff that really doesn't matter, like Super Mario Strikers coming to Nintendo GameCube, Nintendo Switch Online. We are, of course, living through this looks great, by the way. Well, not great, but it looks like, it seems to be, I don't think that the Switch, I haven't played enough of the GameCube games on Switch, And I know that when it comes to N64 emulators or NES emulators, like they're kind of hard to get wrong, but it seems like when it comes to N64
Not okay, okay. I thought you had to say like N64 game emulators are hard to get wrong, and I'm like, the opposite's the truth.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like there have been a lot of smaller details. It's less that N64 is harder to get right and more that there just seems to be less care. Not that people don't care about the N64, but obviously there are incentives to emulate specific GameCube games that have very dedicated communities, like that of Smash
Yeah.
Bros. That
Well, I think the N64, the hardware of it, like with things like lighting and stuff, there's something that emulators have a really hard time replicating. I don't
Mhm.
actually, I've never actually, worked in video game emulation, so I don't exactly know how it's done. But yeah, I mean, N64 is infamous for how difficult it is to kind of like get running on PC.
Right.
Uh,
I know there were
yeah.
little things like I mean, I'm sure we've all. I was just about to quote the Neryl video, but I realize you've also probably seen it. But
Oh yeah, love this guy. I love that
the
guy's
moment
videos.
in Majora's Mask and the ending where the sorry, spoilers for Majora's Mask, when the giants are lifting the moon back into the sky, that the cutscene on actual N64 hardware lags. So it plays the entirety of the track because it's meant to run on N64. But on an emulator, the cutscene doesn't lag at all, so you don't hear the entirety of the song. It just ends. Whereas on
Yeah,
Nintendo's in-house emulator, they purposefully slowed it down. And it's something you only
yeah.
really, not to say that their emulator's better because they have, I mean, they had a lot of growing pains with their N64 emulator. But when it comes to their GameCube emulator, there's very stiff competition because Dolphin has been developed heavily for years and labored over. It really is. Yeah, arguably, I would say that Dolphin is the best emulator for playing games on PC. And seeing a
I
game
wouldn't
like
know for
this,
sure.
yeah, I'm seeing. Wait, what is this? Because in this moment, you see the little side borders, and then it cuts, and we see the game in widescreen, which was always the main appeal of playing a game on Dolphin, is that all the games that were normally in 4:3 would be in widescreen. Not just stretched out, but they would load the side parts of it. And
Yeah,
that's why that was the big appeal of playing Mario Sunshine on the Switch. I haven't played the GameCube emulator on Switch in a while. Are the games in widescreen?
I don't think so. I haven't played it, but I assume no.
I don't know why this trailer is like this. But yeah,
Because
we
even
are.
because I'm pretty sure. I guess I'm gonna check just to make sure, but I'm pretty sure no. Let me see.
Yeah. Well, then we're going through I mean, the console launched last month. It has now been over a full month and another week. But this launched the 4th, which would have been exactly a month after the Switch launch with all of those GameCube games. I think there's a chance we just get a GameCube game a month. We're still doing the drip feed. I mean, as we know, every couple months we're still getting new NES games and new Super Nintendo games. It
Which
seems
is
so
fucking nauseating. It's
yeah.
fucking nauseating.
Well, with the
Yeah,
NES and the Super Nintendo, we have most of them, but it's ridiculous that now we're doing the drip feed with the GameCube emulator because we don't even have most of the N64 games.
yeah. It's nuts, and it's like, dude, I don't actually think it's that much of a loss. To just dump them a lot faster, if not like all at once.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe there's some time spent making sure the games like are working properly. Like that's fair enough, but I mean, once a month is just obscene.
Yeah.
Especially because I'm sure most of the games nowadays, like we know how to run them on an emulator properly.
I think
It's
we
just
talked about
I don't
this
know.
literally on the last episode of the prospect of elongating content drop so that like you have an excuse to go back to it, and in the same breath talking about the Nintendo sports games and how everyone always talks about the GameCube version. So I guess, or the GameCube versions of all those Nintendo sports games as like the mecca of those games, like, oh man, this is the best it is. This is why so many people mischaracterize Daisy. This is another thing that we were just going through feeds while we were gone scrolling, and I think you have to choose your battles, and there are sometimes I see fan art, and I'm just glad that fan art exists at all, and I don't want to encourage artists to constantly make their own things. So whenever I don't have a private account, I don't have a Finsta or whatever. If I feel something, I'm just gonna tweet it out. I don't really think about it that much, except for when I see fan art and I'm like, I don't know, have something to add to it. I'm like, I'm not gonna say this because this is fan art. I'm glad fan art exists at all, but I think it's an interesting phenomenon that like there's a lot of characterization that a lot of people kind of project onto Daisy that she really just simply does not have. But you could say that about a
Like
lot of
what?
Mario characters. Just her being the sassy tomboy character kind of only exists
Well,
within this game.
they've said stuff like that in like strategy guides and manuals though. I think
Mhm.
that's kind of like where part of it comes from. But yeah, when you think
Right.
about it, like it's not like Daisy's like always doing tomboy shit
Yeah.
when in Mario
And I
games,
bring that
if
up
at
because
all.
I find it interesting, not because I'm like, this person's fan art is factually incorrect, actually. That's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like people would misunderstand what I'm saying. Where if I would like tweet about it or quote retweet someone's fan art and be like, Daisy isn't like this, they think I would like take, because like, I don't care what the Mario character's character are, you know? This is in the GameCube is the game where Mario smudges his brother's shoe or whatever, and that's why it was in all those Is Mario Evil videos back in the day. Like, I don't really care that much about the Mario character's characterization. Although I do like the little moments in something like Mario Kart with attention to detail in Mario Wonder. But there's another, without getting too much into it, there is a character in The Amazing Digital Circus that wore a backless dress in the most recent episode. And I've seen so much fan art of her just looking as curvaceous as possible. And again, I don't want to look at people's fan art and be like, this is inaccurate, because it doesn't matter. But I do think it's really funny that, like, in the show, this character's a washboard. Like, almost, like, that the character does not look like that at all. But to each their own. I just think it's an interesting phenomenon. I find it kind of silly. So I know those Ragatha fans, but you guys are, a hungry man dreams of food. But on top of getting information on Super Mario Strikers, there has, I think in a different Nintendo trailer, Nintendo 64 NSO overview trailer. Obviously, we have multiple games that are already on Nintendo Switch Online, but I think this is a recent trailer for specifically the Nintendo Switch 2. Have this sort of glossy background of a ton of games. Oh yeah, these are exclusive to Nintendo Switch 2. We covered this trailer in a previous episode of it, how it's weird that the CRT filter only exists on the Switch 2 edition. And in doing so, we completely missed, because I guess we weren't looking hard enough. We were not the hard-hitting journalists we thought we were. And by the way, over here, just going to give a quick shout-out. This is Skips, a person we've been I have been following for a very long period of time, because this is the sole proprietor of K-Rool and Donkey Kong Bonanza theories. Like, whenever we've been looking at information or theories, it's always been this guy. So shout out this guy. You know what? I'm gonna reach out. I think we should have him on the show to discuss Bonanza,
dude.
in a post.
Yeah,
Bonanza
I follow
show.
Skips. You got
I
got
do
me on the
too.
Skips chain.
I feel like we've been unfairly just stealing all this, but there's multiple sources when it comes to this. Is in the background. I feel like this is accurate. What we're about to see is accurate, but we're about to judge it with our own eyes. We're delving into Pac-Man in the Sky territory, where what Skips here is saying is that you can very clearly make out the box art for Super Smash Bros. In the background here.
Now, can you share your screen?
Oh, can you know? Oh, right. Okay, sorry.
Oh yeah.
All right. When I opted out. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Let me find it. Should be here in 60 frames per second. Yeah. Here is the blurry version that people are seeing. They're seeing the hidden Mickey, the Jesus in their soup. The box art for Super Smash Bros. For the N64. Oh, come on, really? Okay, we're back. That was strange. Anyway, yeah, look at this tweet here by a good friend, Skips, who is, I want to say friend of the show, doesn't know the show exists probably. But this is where people are seeing Super Smash Bros. 64. Right here. Do you see the box art for Super Smash Bros. 64?
It's funny, I'm pretty sure Captain Disillusion recently made a video about like de-blurring stuff. I wonder if someone can do that.
Oh, go back to multiple different examples of this, but okay.
Go back to the Gaussian blur thing.
Mm-hmm.
Go back. Okay, go back to the actual box art.
Yes,
I could see it. Yeah, I'm here back. I spilled something. I'm gonna wipe it up.
I hear that. Rayman is stuck in the crystal. Yeah, exactly. Twitch chat. What's YouTube chat saying about this, guys? I think we're right on the cusp of getting the Turbo channel monetized. I think we're maybe like legitimately 200 views away. But I actually want to learn more about this whole de-blurring of it all, because I think that's probably something we could do if we really load it up in Photoshop. I don't quite see it. The idea, maybe, okay, that it has, what I'm noticing here about this image is it has yellow undertones up here in the corners, and you could argue, I really don't see it. Not to say that people are inaccurate or incorrect, and maybe this is a seeing the thing you want to see, but I don't understand how you could get Smash 64 from this. Maybe we'll go find the original trailer. Let me move this over here real quick. They're online. I was trying to find the specific video, but all right. Well, people have made alternative videos. I don't think it's impossible. I don't quite see what people are seeing here.
It's hard to verify.
Yeah, but other examples are people posting more the same skips, saying that DK64 is to the left of it. Maybe
I don't. Where's the beige coming from though? On the bottom left, like is that all Diddy? I mean, there's a lot of green to mix in, and then there's the yellow.
this is very,
Yeah,
very blurred.
yeah.
I guess you could say, I think you can sort of make vague shapes out more looking at this. Regardless, this background lists more games than N64 Online currently has. And I don't, and this even, like, this image right here is an overly saturated or out version of the box. It isn't this bright.
That's true.
So I don't think it would look like this anyway. And then our good friends over at our best friend at Game Explain, you're just covering him entirely. We're stealing this. Placed Smash 64 here. Let's see if we could do a comparison to do frame by frame. Sort of. I see the blue of Mario's overalls, like the deep.
Oh, that was
blue
Michael
here.
Rosen for a second. But no, that's Game Explain.
I wish he would wait. Yeah, this is Mr. Game Explain, Andre Game Explain, everyone's favorite YouTuber. But I see the blue or the bluish purple of the overalls. Maybe the yellow of Pikachu. No, I'm really just seeing Mario here. And I guess this is the only box art, I keep wanting to say thumbnail, where Mario's on the left of the screen, and then later in the video points out apparently Glover. This one looks more. This does seem like a hand silhouette.
Okay, wait, go back. I gotta see the Glover. I gotta see the Glover.
Well, that's where we're at right now, where it's, yeah, see Glover there.
Okay, I'm buying Glover.
Yeah,
I'm
Glover,
Glover
I see. Glover I'm on for. Smash Bros, I don't know. DK64, I don't know. Glover, I fuck with. This guy, I know. I trust Glover. I guess you could blur. Yeah, oh, that looks exactly. Oh, I guess that's what's happening here is.
Yeah, there's also the they're all darkened because they're in the background.
Mm-hmm. Purposefully blurring. Okay, so no, this does make me believe it a little more. That they are blurring these two box arts and they seem to meld with the background. But also, this is a layer in front of it, so it may just look like it's melding in the background because it's on top of the previous layer. We're sort of Photoshop experts, Photoshop savants. But there's a lot.
Well, I assume what's happening. What I assume is happening on the whenever you pause or go to the menu, it applies a Gaussian blur and a brightness. It lowers the brightness of the game selection. So yeah, I guess they probably do bleed a little bit into each other.
Glover, I'm certain of. I'm certain Glover's going to be on this list. It's really just a matter of when they give it to us. I don't think seeing DK64 and Smash Bros. And Glover here means that we're going to get them all at once or soon. It just means that we will inevitably get them.
Yeah, we won't.
Yeah. Oh, maybe the beige on the side is like Donkey Kong's head because the left is cut off.
Maybe.
Regardless, I think more of an implication is we've been getting platformers. I don't know when we would get DK64. Maybe it would be sometime after Bananza, like soon. But the implication of having Super Smash Bros. 64 on the N64 emulator that they have on their console could also lead that there would be, conventional wisdom would imply, if they're having the original Smash Bros., they could also have Super Smash Bros. Melee on the GameCube version. And the average normie, I suppose, person who just, they don't play emulators, they don't play these games competitively, they're just nostalgic for these games, could play Melee online officially. Ever since the days of the Wii, people have thought about playing Melee online. And that was the original idea. Like, they announced Smash Bros. For the Wii before Sakurai even signed anything. And they said that if he did make a new game for the Wii, that they would just port Melee and add online features to it. So...
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
I follow the, I'm just a tourist. I'm a consumer. I follow the Smash community a lot, obviously. And there are a lot of very specific intricacies that the game breaks in a certain way. And I'm not even saying this to be like, haha, they like a broken game. Because I like Melee. I don't like playing it, but I love watching it. That some of them have their controllers broken in a very specific way that allows them to move a little faster with the stick. Some of them file notches into their plastic controllers that allow them to DI a little. People stealing, maybe one specific group of people, stealing monitors from airports to play in Melee tournaments because those are the ones that had no latency whatsoever because they can't. And latency is such a huge part of playing Melee to a lot of people that play it religiously and competitively that I think that if Nintendo wanted to compete with something like Slippy and made their own Melee online, I still don't think people would play it as much because there would be ever so slightly, well, one, there wouldn't be rollback netcode. and there would be an ever so slight delay playing it. Maybe the Switch screen itself wouldn't have delay, but if you played it docked on your TV, there would be. And that is simply too much for a competitive Melee player. And I'm not even saying this like they're in the wrong. Like, I'm sure there will be some average consumer that grew up with Melee and likes playing with items of 4 players that will be ecstatic to play Melee with their friends online. But I don't think if Melee Online is at any point supposed to be a competition to the current ways to play Melee Online, it's not going to be.
Yeah. You know, I'm honestly kind of in the camp of people that believe that they won't do Melee. They won't bring in Melee.
Mhm.
And I think it's in large part because, I don't know, the fact that they haven't even done Smash 64 is crazy. Like, how many N64 games are currently on Switch Online?
I feel like it's maybe in the teens, probably. No, that's not fair. It's probably in like, I think it's like 30 games, maybe.
Huh.
Which is not a lot.
That's
still.
Yeah, it's like,
Granted, there's only
Matt,
like 200 or 300 N64 games. I think there's 200 N64 games, North American N64 games anyway. It would be cool if they added the disk drive games. I don't know if you saw this.
It'd be cool if they add Earthbound 64.
Yeah, it'd be cool if they added a lot of stuff. I don't know, I like when the internet sort of develops different phenomena of a game that, you know, people that otherwise wouldn't have played it rediscover a game due to different canon. It's like when a movie or a show like references an old cartoon and then a bunch of people go back to watch that thing just because they want to consume media tied to it. That I've been seeing so much Deltarune on my feed, and there was one specific post, I wonder if I could find it, on Toby Fox account in like 2017 of a model of Undyne from Undertale dancing, and everyone recently found the tweet. They're like, what game even is this? And it turned out that it was Mario Artist Studio for the N64 disk drive. So then a bunch of people who really like Deltarune have been recreating different Undertale and Deltarune models in Mario Artist Studio for the Nintendo 64 disk drive. And I think that's a nice little convergence of things.
Yeah. You know, when I was a kid, everyone was playing Mario Paint.
Yeah, on the Super Nintendo. Well, how many people even have Mario Artist Studio? I mean, how many people even have an N64 disk drive? I imagine they're just playing it on an emulator, which I'm glad.
I thought they didn't come out in the United States.
They didn't, and there's only there's only a handful of English ones that ever existed. I want to get one because it's only like 1,000, but
that's not that bad. Collection. I mean, all things considered, for like you know, like a collector's item, is a really rare collector's item. 1,000's like not that bad, all things considered.
Let me see if I can find the specific post. If I just look up N64 disk drive. No, they just posted about Doshin the Giant. It's not really related to what we're talking about. I just thought it was really interesting. But
one thing that's really cool, actually, you just reminded me, is the amount of people playing Undertale right now and seeing things that may or may not be hinting at Deltarune. Like, I forgot the details, but there's a part of Waterfall. I think it's been a few years since I played Undertale, but there's a part of Waterfall where there's like these little flowers that people wish on, or there's wishes that they kind of like repeat or whatever. And one of them, I forgot what it said, but someone was thinking that it might have been like Noel, like it's one of Noel's wishes or something like that, which is kind of fun. And it would actually make sense because apparently he was already kind of thinking about the character of Noel and Susie and stuff in like 2014 before Undertale even came out. So
the image I always see of people being like, "Oh, this is a reference to Deltarune," is in is it Sans room? It's one of the experiment room where there's like a machine under a tarp. And it's a picture, it's a Polaroid, and it says, "Oh, it's 3 friends standing side by side." And everyone's like, "Oh, this is Deltarune."
That's Paula and Pooh.
Yeah, I was going to say, that always makes me laugh, because whenever I see that moment, I just think about the Sans' Nest theory. Because it made so much sense to me when I first heard it.
What did he say it was in the Sans' Nest theory? I forget. It was Paula, Jeff, and Pooh or something like that, yeah.
Yeah, or isn't Nest supposed... Oh, I guess... Yeah, if it's in Sans' room, but he'd be doing the fuzzy pickler pose. Like, you would think that Sans would be in the picture.
Yeah. Unless he was taking the picture of his friends.
That doesn't sound like something he'd do.
Yeah.
But I'm glad he got to make Deltarune. And I think moving forward, because it's now a paid game and we just got chapters 3 and 4, that we're going to get the chapters a lot faster now. Maybe like a chapter a year. But I did kind of like... I mean, I'm saying this as someone who played it for the first time last year, so I don't even need to wait that long. Maybe a 1-year wait is... I think... I'm not maybe. 1-year wait is better. It's totally fine. But I do think it is fun to go back to... Like, you know, the first chapter came out in 2018. Second chapter was 2021. Seeing how different people were talking about it and how the internet was different when those chapters came out. I watched a game theory video about Deltarune for 2018, he in the first half of it, he uses he, him for Chris, and in the second half, he uses she, her. And I don't know why he decided to do both and why he split it down the middle of the video.
Two different writers.
That's very strange. But I like those little time capsules. Granted, I think it's been long enough. We could just get a chapter a year. And now I'm on board.
Yeah.
I like the chapter
Dude,
system.
it makes me kind of like, it gives me a little bit of, anxiety about aging when I hear people telling me that they're like 17 and they first got into Deltarune when they were like 9 or 10.
Oh.
You know what I mean? I'm like,
there was a different
because this has all happened. This has all happened effectively in my adult life, which I like. I'm kind of, well, I mean, I like certain things about that, but it's funny. There's, I don't know, like Deltarune makes me feel old because of how long it's taken just to get the first couple chapters out. Also, I'm gonna make this old Deltarune video I made in 2018 public. It was unlisted for a while. It's a stupid video, but
bold move. Okay.
Yeah.
I never make any of the oldest I have is 2019, and those videos are dog shit.
Yeah.
I'm glad you agree. There's a certain I like when series are spaced out like that, especially when it comes to movie series. Like, say what you will about the Disney sequels, but the first one for Star Wars, the first one came out when I was 14, and the last one came out when I was 18. So my teenagers are marked by the sequel trilogy, by those characters. Your Rey, your Finn, your Poe, your Kylo Ren. And even though, like, I'm emotionally attached to those movies, and I'm probably going to talk about them at some point, but I can understand why people wouldn't have the same attachment or convergence to it. But I kind of like having a series like that concludes as you get older. There was a tweet.
Yeah.
We start most of our conversations like this. There was a tweet from a couple days ago. Some of you like, oh, it was the gift for Monsters vs. Aliens. Because this keeps happening to me, by the way. Something I talk about in passing in a video then blows up all of a sudden, completely unrelated from me, like a month or so later, like after the video comes out. And I talked about the Monsters vs. Aliens show for a little bit, and the McDonald's toys in the Kids' Choice Award video. And then a little bit after, everyone was sharing around gifs from Monsters vs. Aliens, and now people are watching the movie and getting clips from the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a post someone be like, oh man, everyone has seen the gif of this blue glob creature, but nobody knows what he's from. And then you check the account.
You know what he's from. I knew what he was from.
You check the account, and the person's like 14. It's like, yeah, of course you don't know it's from. You were born in 2011. Like, why would you have? Instant block.
Why don't you remember this? You weren't alive for this shovelware movie, bro. Like, what is this, dude?
Well, we talked about this. Like, I tweeted this the other day where it's like, oh, dude, animated film that came out from 2007 to 2015 is peak, bro. Like, any 3D animated movie that somebody grew up with is going to be peak to someone. Even though most of them were probably
Continental Drift, where Drake played one of the woolly mammoths, bro. That was peak.
I'm tired of seeing edits of Cars 2 and people saying it's a good movie. It's not a good movie. I don't care for Cars 2. We got to get Mr. Renner on the show. I feel like we'd have a lot of valuable discussion.
Let's talk about Norm of the North.
Ooh, somebody's gonna say it's peak at some point. Somebody's gonna say like, "Oh, they were too hard on this movie." Why is everyone
especially when
fun?
Like Fanboy and Chum Chum, like people kind of started watching it again, and they were like talking like, "Actually, this show's pretty good."
I blame Nintendo. This is all his fault somehow. We have covered a number of. I mean, the first hour was us talking about our trip and all the stuff that's happened in between. We've talked about sub communities like that of Deltarune, or people talking about Monsters versus Aliens. The colossal Xbox layoffs and all the images potentially hidden within the background of these Nintendo Switch Online games, and a legitimate Nintendo Switch Online game that was dropped and announced. I think it's been a long while since we've had a bogus 4chan leak, and I miss it dearly. So this is a topic we've been talking about for a while, the prospect of a new Nintendo Direct in the summer. And the prospect that we got, or the idea rather, that we got games announced over their Nintendo Today app, and there was a Donkey Kong Direct, and maybe there'll be some new stuff from Mario Kart World. I'm leaning more towards we might not get it. I mean, I don't think we probably will, because we're going to get a Pokemon Direct the 22nd, right? So when are we meeting next time? The next episode of the podcast is on the 21st.
21st.
Oh,
let me double check.
So right
is
before.
It the 20? I think I'll be back on the 21st. Like I don't think we have to do a Super Tuesday. Yeah.
Oh, thank God. So we will that's a direct unto itself, but I feel like all of the games. Oh, circling back real quick, we talk about Donkey Kong 64 launching on the N64 emulator to coincide with Bonanza. Potentially, maybe Kirby Air Ride will launch a little bit after Air Riders, because other than Metroid Prime 4 and Kirby Air Riders, those are the only things that don't have a release date. Everything else has a release date, aside from games that are coming out in 2026. I would hazard to say that probably the next full direct won't be until September. I actually don't think we're going to
Yeah.
get one this summer anymore. But this is another text-based 4chan, green text leak. And it's been a while since we covered one of these, and I miss them dearly. So I say we just go down the line and discuss.
Yeah.
It begins with date of direct, July 10th, 2025. Okay, so bad news. It already didn't happen. Direct actually opens with Five Nights at Freddy's, Secret of the Mimic. This will also
Is that an actual game?
Yes, that is a game.
Okay, it is a game.
And it doesn't look to be that visually or graphically intensive of a game. I don't know why it wasn't on the Switch to begin with. It seems like one of those hallway Steam games that it goes viral for a little bit. It's like, oh, it's scary. I've seen people in the FNAF community turn up their noses and be upset about like Corey or Markiplier or whatever for not wanting to play the game for elongated periods of time. But the game looks bad. Like, even if you're a FNAF fan, and I don't like most FNAF games, the game does not look good. I wouldn't want to play it either. So come with the announcement of a new physical edition for FNAF games, all available on the Switch too, with upgraded visuals, mouse con controls. How do you upgrade visuals for Five Nights at Freddy's? It's an image and an art book.
You go into, I guess you draw the image again. Like, it's like, yeah. That already is kind of
a new physical edition of FNAF games. Oh yeah, mouse con controls. Yeah, I guess that would be better. I didn't even know they were on the Switch. I guess that makes sense. Big moment up next. Miyamoto and Koizumi introduced the Direct. Miyamoto hasn't been in a Direct in forever, but revealing the Mario's
already
40th anniversary logo. I guess they're doing it for Mario's 40th. Saying they have many celebrations planned for the Red Plumber, including, that's a strange, I don't know, that's not his name, including the first teaser of a brand new Mario Sunshine game. The trailer
that's like immediately when I checked out, I'm like, okay, yeah, no.
The trailer starts with the camera pan to the sun, slowly going down and showing flood on the beach, presumably Delfino, and it ends with a 2026 fade out. You can also see Shadow Mario faintly in the background. We've talked about this. I don't think there's going to be a 3D Mario for a while.
Yeah, I was holding out hope, but I think you're probably right.
As expected, Mario Kart World will announce its first big 2.0 update. That's crazy. Already going to 2.0, it will be themed all around Donkey Kong Bonanza that features Diddy Kong, Funky Kong, and King K. Rool. You had me for a second. It will have a DK Country track, which will be a whole new area added to free roam. This update will
That's where they lose me.
Yeah, where do you put that new area?
Yeah, I mean, if they're doing a new area, they're gonna wait like 6 months. Like, I could believe Diddy Funky and maybe K. Rool.
If K. Rool's in
like
Bonanza.
adding a bunch of new areas, like that is just like dog water.
This update will also include 200cc, new P-Block challenges, and a tracker for free roam, costumes, Pauline outfits. This is confusing verbiage. Tracker for free roam. Okay, that would be cool. Costumes, okay, Pauline outfits, and they will announce more updates will be coming for free throughout 2025. No news on spectator or versus races taking priority. I believe that they would update Mario Kart World with every subsequent game release. I think it's a fun idea that like every Mario adjacent game release, there's some sort of update.
Mm-hmm.
And that would explain why there's I think a lot of these are just sour grapes. Like, it's easy to be like, oh, they added a tracker for free roam and new areas to free roam and characters I want and 200cc. I don't think that would be in an update. I think the lack of 200cc is a deliberate choice in the game. I don't think it's something they would like add later.
Well, to be fair, they did wait a while to release 200cc wasn't in the original Mario Kart 8 until after a couple years, I think. I could see them bringing it back for like with like a bunch of new characters and stuff like that. That is a thing I can see happening, but not this soon. At least based on previous patterns. But either way, this is fake anyway. So
yeah, this shit is not true. I don't believe that. If King K. Rool is playable in Mario Kart World, I will 100% Donkey Kong 64 on the N64. That's how certain I am that King K. Rool will not be in Mario Kart World. But Maybe Donkey Kong. Genshin Impact
I
on
would love
Switch
it.
2. Finally, this will come with the Hoyoverse segment announcing ZZZ. That's how I feel when I learn about the Hoyoverse. And Honkai Star Rail will also be coming to Switch 2 later this year. They will also tease their new project, which is the Pokemon-esque gacha they're working on. They would not do that in the direct. Next up, huge segment where Sakurai takes center stage. He talks about how he never takes breaks, and he's always talking about never taking breaks, and says he's actually here to show 2 projects. The first one...
Bullshit!
Wait, hold on, wait. First one, obviously being Kirby Air Riders, gets full-blown trailer revealing the gameplay. From what I was told, it's... Okay, so did you see the direct or not? It's basically what you would think a modern Air Rider would look like. That's a really easy thing to say in your green text post. Yeah, it's what you expect it to be, actually. Just picture it in your head. But shows 20-player lobbies, city trial looks massive, hinted single player, and as expected, the cast is focused on Kirby colors over 20. Bandana D... Well, I want Bandana D to add additional characters, but I know he's not partial to ones he didn't create or didn't make main characters. Meta Knight, King Dedede, Marks, Gooey, Rick, Kine, and Ku. Release date is announced for December 4th, 2025. I think December release is possible for Kirby Air Riders, especially if Metro's coming soon. He then acknowledges we all know what we want to see. The screen fades one more time, revealing Smash Ultimate Switch 2 Edition, including a
Is that what you want to see, Andrew?
I don't want to see that at all. That's awful. Including a brand new fighter pass with 5 characters, but this time they're all revealed at once except for one.
Bullshit!
I don't like that idea at all. I don't want them all revealed at once. I see something I do like though, except for one that he wants to hide for a later date. The trailer shows Gino,
bullshit,
the Ring Fit trainer.
That's actually kind of believable.
Shadow the Hedgehog.
Kind of believable.
And finally, the Fun Gang. Deltarune's maid party of 3, I believe,
that's
as
bullshit.
one. Well, of course, but I don't think
it is bullshit.
I don't think it's impossible that we could get a Deltarune character in a new
No,
Smash.
I actually agree with the idea that there might be. Dude, like Undertale and Deltarune are big enough that I don't think, like, for some reason, like historically, I would have thought that Nintendo would be too stuffy about kind of letting that kind of thing in, but no, they absolutely are down to do that. Yeah. The only thing is that, dude, why would they have like all 3 characters as one thing? Is it like a Pokemon trainer situation? Is it like an ice climber situation?
I think so.
Like they weren't even willing to do like Rex and Pirate together. Like I don't think like that's just beyond the pale. I think. And also I would rather just
a Duck Hunt situation where Chris uses the other 2 as weapons.
Be kind of weird.
I like it. Well, yeah, but that's Deltarune. I mean, obviously, like, you don't play the game, you don't know it. But prior to playing Deltarune, I didn't really play that much of Undertale. I was like, I don't think they need a character in the game. But it's the same thing with Minecraft. Like, in 2014, with, like, Smash 4 Wii U and Smash for 3DS, where people were like, oh, Minecraft's in the game, and people turned up their noses and rolled their eyes, like, oh, this new indie game? Like, no way they would add this viral gimmick game. But, you know, it's been over a decade since Undertale came out, and it's huge in Japan. It's just a huge phenomena. I think it's more likely that there's a Deltarune character. I think I'd prefer to have a Deltarune character instead of an Undertale character. I mean, there are some that are in both anyway. I think that could be fun. I'm becoming more of a fan of the series. Out of all of these... Oh, I was going to say I want the Fun Gang the most. Maybe just recency bias. I think I want Gino the most.
I would want Gino the most, but like, yeah, like why would they release Gino? I mean, I don't know. I mean, why would they release Gino ever? I guess is the question. Mm-hmm. I love Gino. I would love him, but yeah,
should we add these characters to our board, our little Smash character speculation board at the end?
Dude, maybe. I mean,
just it came up in a leak. It might be worth talking about later down the line.
Potentially. I mean, I guess it is. This is somewhat of like an interesting kind of heuristic on what people think. Like at least because this post got pretty big, like what the common conversation is about potential newcomers. I could definitely see Shadow being a newcomer, but Fun Gang, like as a group of 3, I think is just I can't see that. I can't see that.
I see it. I see it in my brain. I am seeing the 3D models right now in my head. I think it's possible. I believe in the dream. I think it's possible. I'm locking that in. It's the only thing that's believable here, other than December Kirby Air Riders. Atlas segment, Persona 3 Reload and Metaphor on Switch 2, with a tease of Persona 4 Revival again, as well as P5R, Tactics, and Strikers all getting paid graphic updates available now. So you're definitely more of a Persona guy than I. Yeah, you talk at length about this.
Yeah. Man, I kind of wish Persona 3 Reload was on the Switch. That'd come in handy. Because I have the game. I bought it on Steam, but honestly, I think I would rather play it on the Switch than on Steam. But whatever.
But think about
Now for a weird one.
Oh? Oh, now for a weird one? Nintendo announced Mario Galaxy 1+2 for Nintendo Switch 2 as an HD release, but the gimmick is that they've reworked it so that the galaxies from both games are playable from Comet Observatory. Maybe due to backlash from back in the day of 2 ruining the story. So no Starship Mario, releases this November, big holiday game basically.
That'd be so stupid.
As their
That'd be
big
so
holiday
stupid.
game, Mario Galaxy
First of all,
again?
that. But also, dude, I'm not playing. I'm not fucking with the idea of 1 and 2 bundled together and like them removing Starship Mario. Even the Starship Mario is kind of stupid. Like
That's how I feel
like,
about Dexter Jettster's Diner and Lego Star Wars. Everyone always plays the complete trilogy where the hub world is the cantina. Nobody ever wants to play Lego Star Wars, the video game, with different, more difficult levels. Then you could play around in Dexter Jettster's Diner, his space diner.
Like what would they do? Would they just like rewrite the entire story? Would they add new areas to the Comet Observatory? That's what I don't get. But I guess
the levels would just exist on the Comet Observatory. Like there'd be, I don't know, additional, maybe just stars appear in the sky. But at that point, you could just have the Mario Starship, the Starship Mario, on the side of the Comet Observatory.
Yeah.
This person seems to believe that Galaxy and Sunshine would get additional content. When I don't even think
Odyssey. Oh yeah. Also, like, why
are
dude? They would not be caught dead. Like announcing Mario Sunshine and Mario Galaxy 1+2 in the same 40 minutes. Like that's insane. But it's entertaining. Pokemon Director reminding people to watch the presents taking place on the 22nd. It's followed by
the Pokemon Director then shows up, reminding people to watch the presents taking place on the 22nd. It's followed by a quick teaser of the legendaries from Black and White, shouting, and then fades to black. Pokemon Red, Blue, Yellow, and Emerald. Strange. No Ruby and Sapphire, weirdly enough. All announced for NSO. I don't know. I think it's a matter of time before they add. It's strange that specifically the Pokemon games aren't on NSO right now. That leads me to believe that they might do a collection.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it makes me. I just kind of get the impression that Game Freak just wants no part of that for whatever reason. I guess it's because they want to try and find a way to monetize it more like more efficiently or whatever. Because I mean, there is a subset of Pokemon fans that are willing to buy several DSs and several copies of each game just to kind of get everything and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and I think they'd rather.
With Pokemon Bank being shut down, or the eShop in general being shut down, like if you want to play these games and transfer the Pokemon to the Switch or to Pokemon Home, it would make more sense to have those ROMs on the game. But again, we don't even have DS online yet. I think that's possible. Yeah. But I don't think we're due for a Black and White remake. I feel like that's a fundamental misunderstanding.
Time-wise, I guess you could say we are, but I mean, I guess Oros remakes. Oros was 2014. BDSP was 2021, but before that, I guess Heart Gold Soul Silver was 2009. So I mean, it's been theoretically like in the next couple of years, I could see them wanting to do a Unova remake. But
yeah, in the next couple of years, I think the thing after Legends ZA is Generation 10 for its 35th anniversary.
But there was a point in time where they had a new I guess it wasn't really a point in time. Like Gen 3 had a remake, Gen 4 had a remake, and then Gen 5 didn't have a remake, but Gen 6 had a remake. So I don't know. There was a point in time where we would get a remake basically like every gen or two.
For the Switch, the cycle was Generation DLC remake, Generation DLC remake. And we just didn't get a remake last year. I think the big game, obviously, for this year is ZA, if you want to call it big. Maybe we'll learn more. Maybe this new Pokemon Direct or this Pokemon Presents. That's my other thing, too, is they don't really announce Pokemon games in the Directs. They would announce them in Pokemon Presents. Part. They wouldn't announce, they wouldn't tease a Black and White remake in a Direct if it's a month before the Pokemon Direct. Or no, sorry, weeks before.
Yeah, that's another piece of bullshit.
I'm not super excited. I think there's a chance that this Pokemon Presents wins me over and gets me excited for Legends ZA, but right now I'm more excited for other games coming out this year.
I forget if the leaked list of Mega Evolutions is like legit or not, because I feel like it might be. I haven't even
seen that.
But I've heard people say that, but I'm not sure if it's just like nonsense. I feel like if it wasn't, like if it was actually believable, more people would be talking about it, but I could just be wrong.
Wild
Um,
announcement here. Captain Toad returns. The trailer starts with him grabbing the turnips. The camera zooms out as he tosses them in a wagon to take home. This cuts to Captain Toad's Power Star Garden, showing all sorts of planting, meeting side characters in towns, including Koopas, Yoshis, Toads, and Moo Moos, small dungeons, and online co-op with Toadette. Releases early 2026. I wouldn't be opposed to this. I like Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. It
yeah,
did just
I
get an
like the
update for the Switch
idea.
too.
Although I struggle to see them doing it this soon or doing it at all. I mean, I don't know how well that game did. I assume it wasn't like a thing that they really considered. Oh, we need to do more of
It
this.
probably sold better than the
Um.
Wii U version, just off of existing on
Oh
the
yeah,
Switch.
definitely. Yeah. I should play that game because I love the Captain Toad levels in 3D
It's really
World.
fun, and it's really short too. I knocked it
Yeah,
out in
I
like
love
a
short
stream.
games.
Paper Mario Peculiar Pencils is announced. This game features no partners, no level up system, white outlines on every character. I like how that's a specific, because they have to.
Dude, yeah, no, like literally, this guy probably hates Sticker Star more than I do because I'm pretty sure the conventional wisdom is that the Paper Mario games have gotten better since Sticker Star. Or not, I guess conventional wisdom is like not the best way of saying it, but
This
like
person
that
wants
seems
to
to be a
make-
more general opinion.
This person wants to make the worst Paper Mario game on purpose, because it's like no partners, no level up, white outlines, Toads as the prominent characters. Like, you wouldn't say this unless you were upset that that was the case.
Oh
the
yeah,
previous
absolutely.
game.
I mean, that's also why like Paper Mario fell off. I mean,
Mhm.
I mean, to be fair, I never played Color Splash, and I haven't played Origami King.
I had a roommate who played Origami, and
Um,
it looked really fun.
Yeah, I think Origami, like what the impression I get is that there's still some fun gameplay, and they at the very least seem to get a gauge on at least kind of like being relatively funny, being a little bit more entertaining in that sense. But I don't know. I mean, it's honestly crushing whenever I think about how they had a game like the Thousand Year Door, and they seem to like not want to do that again. And I love
mean, they
Super Paper
remade
Mario.
it.
I think. Well, yeah, that's the crazy thing because we had like years and years where that seemed like a thing that they would never do. So I honestly that's like one kind of thing to be optimistic about is that I feel like if there's any time for them to really kind of go back to their roots with Paper Mario, it would be now since they remade the Thousand Year Door.
Mm-hmm. There's
But
yeah, there's more about this Paper Mario that they hate. Features a pencil-based combat system where you use pencils to draw your desired action in battle, obviously using mouse controls, but can also work with motion or drawing with your hand in handheld mode. A lot of these games are coming out in 2026. I guess that makes sense for this direct, but it seems to be a stacked year in this person's head. Metroid segment, Metroid Prime 4. Has there ever been a direct with this many Nintendo announcements, by the way?
No. Usually we get 2 at this point. Like it's like, yeah, I mean,
I'm
effectively
hoping
like
26 is a bigger year than 25.
Yeah, same. But well, actually, I mean, where we have Tomodachi Life, I mean that game is gonna
And
be
Rhythm
like
Heaven.
on my that game's gonna be my shit for like at least a couple months. So
Yeah, those are still Switch 1 games.
Yeah. So Metroid. I mean, I would love them to like show off Prime 1 and Prime, like dropping Prime 2 and Prime 3. I could see that happen. Honestly, I think it's more likely that they might remake them separately because I mean. I really don't. I guess they just remade
Metroid
Prime
segment.
1.
Metroid Prime 4 gets a new trailer. Release date October 30th. Prime 2 and 3 get a re-release, but it's not as good looking as Prime 1. Prime 2 Shadow drops, and Prime 3 gets released on August 7th. If they're going to do them not looking as good like they did with Pikmin 1+2, I think they would just drop them together. What were you saying about Metroid?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I could see 2 and 3 coming out together because I guess they did do that with Pikmin 3 on the Switch, right? They did that. So they did some shit like that. I would love that. But I could see that happening as much as I was about to say this is bullshit, but it probably isn't bullshit. I definitely don't think they'd remake the games in one piece. Or maybe they would. I don't know. I guess honestly, I'm not super opinionated. I just hope that happens, but I also don't think what I don't think they do is like drop both games 2 weeks apart or whatever, like they're kind of implying is gonna happen this. I think that's a little bit like, yeah, I doubt they'll do that, but I'd love if they did that. That'd be great. Or on the same day.
What, Prime 2 and 3?
Yeah, Prime 2 and 3.
I mean, if they're going to do that and we waited so long, I'd rather them be the remasters. But, I mean, it's been long enough that I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah. Because, I mean, I think 3... Because 3 has all the Wii controls and stuff. Like, I really want that to be, like, more accessible nowadays.
Footage is shown of the next SpongeBob SquarePants video game by Purple Lamp Studios. SpongeBob and Patrick are the two playable characters, and the game heavily features the Flying Dutchman and releases in December as a tie-in for the Search for SquarePants movie. How many SpongeBob movies exist now? I think there used to be like 2 or 3, and I blinked, and there was a ton of Netflix ones.
Yeah.
Each character there was a Plankton movie, there was a Sandy Cheeks movie that leaked on Twitter first. I mean, I'd like to see I know there is a theatrical SpongeBob movie. I'm excited to see SpongeBob in the theaters. I don't like that I mean, it's whatever. You know, the films like Spider-Verse and Peanuts and Lupin have shown that 3D animation doesn't have to be so stilted. But if we're going to see a SpongeBob movie in theaters, I'd rather see a 2D animated one anyway.
Yeah.
This is, I believe the studio that worked on the Battle for Bikini Bottom remake and the Cosmic Shake, maybe? Or maybe, THQ Nordic remade Battle for Bikini Bottom. Sizzle more exciting than usual, showing more Nintendo games getting free updates as well as third parties, including the Xenoblade games, Pikmin 3, Mario Wonder, Sonic Superstars, Silk Song, yeah, they show it again, Sonic Frontiers, is that even on the Switch? Final Fantasy VII Remake, Pokemon...
I assume it is.
Pokemon Sword and Shield, Minecraft, and more. What upgrades could I guess just graphical updates, unless they add...
Yeah, yeah.
You're the Xenoblade guy. What could they add to older Xenoblade that are Switch 1 games?
Just better, maybe more
edition?
draw distance, maybe just 60 FPS. I assume a lot of the games are 30 FPS. That's what I would assume they'd just do. Just stuff like that. It'd be nice. I could see some of that happening, but I don't know. Like, yeah, I mean, I depends on it. Like, Sonic Frontiers...
Splatoon Raiders gets shown with a full-blown trailer. It's basically a survival game. Gather resources, cool story missions, new weapons are shown, including the long request paint spray. 2-player online co-op campaign will be the only multiplayer option for the game. They're totally stealing Survival Kids' flow. They're trying to be the new Survival Kids 2025. I couldn't help but notice this final thing at the bottom here. Let me zoom out so the stream can see it. One more thing is the reveal of an Earthbound claymation remake and Mother 3 finally coming to GBA NSO outside of Japan. Toby Fox will be involved with the project.
Dude, that's like such like nonsense that it actually makes me kind of angry. Like all things considered.
Okay.
Like
speak on it.
I don't know,
Say
man.
Your truth.
Dude, I don't know, man. It's like, and this is me just as someone who well, first of all, I mean, this has to have gotten the amount of like press it did because of how fucking stupid it is. Like this entire like leak. Like this is not a leak that I hope no one saw this leak and thought, ooh, this seems pretty legit. Like I hope none of you did that.
Nintendo was working on this game and then saw this leak and they're like, oh, we're not gonna release it now. They spoiled it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I like unless this is your first Nintendo Direct ever, like you've never played a Nintendo game before and you saw this and you thought it was doable. Like I've been in this like Nintendo Direct shit for over a decade at this point.
We're experts.
First of all,
that's why we have the show. That's why they pay. That's why
like,
China pays us.
Like I filmed myself reacting to Directs for over a decade. So like as much as I hate to say it, like I have a lot of experience with this like stupid Nintendo fan culture shit. So first of all, like they would never have all this stuff kind of like in one thing. Like Directs have never been that fun. They will never be that fun unless somehow Nintendo completely changes its strategy. First of all, also Earthbound claymation remake and Mother 3 finally coming out at the same time is a lot. Toby Fox being involved honestly makes me kind of mad to hear someone talk about. Like, I hope whoever said that has never played Earthbound or Mother 3. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know, something about that just comes off as like you don't know anything about Earthbound. And also, dude, fuck. I don't know. This is me being.
No, do it. No, get angry. Go. Angry. Be angry about it,
dude. Fuck the idea of making a claymation Earthbound remake. I'm so fucking sick of hearing people say that. Like it makes me mad. Maybe not super mad, but no, it's just like, dude, I don't want Earthbound to have a fucking claymation remake. The idea of that makes me retch. Like, I'm sorry, Earthbound is a beautiful game, and its sprite work is not a fucking problem that needs to be solved. Like, okay, like I cannot stomach that idea. I cannot entertain that idea. It makes me sick. Also, Mother 3 coming out, GBA NSO. I'm sorry, like in America, like I cannot see that happening.
Tell him. Hit him with it.
Because fundamentally, I mean, if they wanted to do that, they do that now. they wouldn't have waited so long for whatever fucking reason. I don't actually think it's because of the Mad Gypsies being queer or whatever. I think there's just something about it they just don't want to release it for. I wouldn't be surprised if this is like something like Itoy, because I think a big part of it is they want Shigesato Itoy to be involved in this kind of stuff. And Shigesato Itoy doesn't work on he was pretty adamant about never continuing the Earthbound games. And I think that's partially why I get kind of up in arms whenever people kind of say that they should make more Earthbound games, or they should like remake Earthbound. Like, I'm sorry, Earthbound doesn't need a remake. Earthbound's a lovely game. Earthbound's a wonderful game, and I think so much I cannot see a situation where Earthbound gets remade and it's stripped of so much care and love and identity that's like core to the games. Just core to the game as a whole. I'm so tired of people saying Earthbound needs to be remade.
Keep going. You got it, man. Tell them. Tell them where it's at.
Especially nowadays, when like one of the biggest, most inspired indie games right now is fucking Deltarune, and that game has sprites. That game has, its own like art direction, but like I guess that's another thing is that there's nothing fucking wrong with sprites. There's nothing wrong with 16-bit style kind of video games. I'm so sick of people saying that. Like there's I don't know. I think about Undertale and Deltarune. There's a lot of other games that use sprite work in such a beautiful and fun and unique way that I'm so tired of seeing sprites be talked about as like a problem that needs to be solved, or like an inherent limitation that needs to be kind of dealt with. I think Earthbound's visual direction is wonderful. I think Mother 3's visual direction is wonderful. I don't want these shitty ass fucking 3D models to replace what we used to see. I don't know. It just infuriates me. Actually, another good example.
Yeah, get them. Go,
like,
you got
fucking like.
I know, right?
Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl versus Diamond and Pearl. Which game is visually more interesting? Which game is visually more pleasant? I would say Diamond and Pearl. I don't care if the Diamond and Pearl Pokemon are just static images. There's something much more pleasant and like attractive to my eyes about it. Same with, honestly, I would say I probably like the look of Ruby and Sapphire more than Oros, although that's more kind of half and half. I think there is a lot of cool stuff about Oros's visual direction compared to Ruby and Sapphire. But, there's so many. Also, I'm so fucking sick and tired of these 2D, 3D remakes where they kind of turn it into like these like sprites with a bunch of bloom, this kind of like Project Octopath Traveler thing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like that either. Dude, I don't know, man. I'm just like, Earthbound does not need to be remade. Earthbound's lovely as it is. The Super Nintendo is a beautiful piece of hardware, and games on it aren't overly antiquated, and you can still have a lovely time with them. And I think it enriches your experience as a gamer to play those kinds of games.
The Twitch chat wants to know how you feel about Link's Awakening remake on the Nintendo Switch from 2019.
I think it's okay. I mean, for me personally, I'm more first of all, it's a fun game. I mean, I guess to be fair, Earthbound, a remake of it might be fine, but to be honest, a part of it is I'm probably this strong about Earthbound and not Link's Awakening because I never played Link's Awakening on the Game Boy, or at least I never finished it.
Speak on it.
But I think for me, I think like the GBA is very, very limited in the way what it was able to do. Not GBA, the Game Boy, straight. There was a lot of things it couldn't do. I mean, I remember like it's hard to even see the screen because it's not backlit. You really have I'm pretty sure the resolution is like 80 pixels or something. Like it's in that ballpark. It's hard to see. I don't know. I can see the games being reimagined, but at the same time, I think there's a beauty to the way Link's Awakening, the original, was made. Its own direction. And actually, it's funny people saying the Link's Awakening remake, because I remember when that was first shown off, like a lot of people didn't like the art direction. The kind of that's probably a big part of where this whole kind of story started, where people started saying Earthbound needed a remake in the style of Link's Awakening. But I don't know, man. I think Earthbound's visual direction is good as is, and it doesn't need to be, completely overhauled. I guess I could always keep playing the old version, but I don't know. I think Earthbound should stay Earthbound. I don't think Earthbound needs to be remade. I don't think Earthbound needs like an
is
HD.
Earthbound.
Earthbound doesn't need like HD bloom.
Doesn't need this utter woke nonsense. Get it out of here. I mean, the equivalent is no Earthbound because because what no remake is no Earthbound. We just keep it in place as it is.
Mm-hmm.
Also, why would
I
they
don't know.
remake Earthbound and then port Mother 3? Like, you would think if they're gonna remake anything, they would just remake
That's a
Mother
good point.
3.
Yeah, that's another point.
Toby Fox will be involved with the project.
Yeah, it's also
He's
like, dude,
directing it. What do you mean?
now why would Toby? I guess I mean Toby Fox used to make Earthbound, fan like ROM hacks.
Well, they're gonna. Oh, dude, the post game of Earthbound Claymation is gonna add the Halloween hack to the end of it.
Oh, jeez.
It's beautiful stuff. I love looking at this. But that was the Nintendo Direct leak. Obviously, none of this happened because July 10th is the past. What do I even have here? What other bullshit I got here? Oh, yeah, just additional information before Bonanza comes out. Like Nintendo confirming, finally, that Donkey Kong Bonanza was being made by the Mario Odyssey team. Who could have seen this coming? Who could have expected this? And Donkey Kong Bonanza initially being developed as a Nintendo Switch 1 game. So I combed through both of these, and it seems like the design choice for Donkey Kong was not initially a game decision and was later like just kind of focused because of the redesign in the Super Mario Bros. Movie. So I'm interested to see what this. I obviously will learn more about it in the coming years, but I'm excited to see. I mean, maybe if stuff leaks out. I know people really dislike those Nintendo Giga leaks because actual information about the people who work there's an actual data breach, and I don't want to celebrate it. But it's the only way we ever get information like that from Nintendo, other than like a 35th anniversary of Zelda book, or 30th, I suppose. That I would love to see what this original Donkey Kong design Switch 1 version of Bonanza looked like. Probably a little bit like Bowser's Fury. But not only is it being developed by the Odyssey team, who could have seen this coming, but it's also a Switch 1 game, or developed initially as a Switch 1 game, and then was pushed back to the Switch 2 because it is probably just too daunting to put on the Switch 1. Or they just wanted a launch title. Again, just airs credence to, I don't think there's going to be 3D Mario for a while. I certainly don't think there's going to be a Sunshine 2 or a Galaxy 1+2 remake.
And I certainly don't think that'd be announced on the same fucking day.
Along with the Earthbound Claymation remake.
Yeah.
And one more thing. No, that's it. Well, we have additional, I mean, if we're talking about Bonanza, this will be the end of the pod, because the next time you see us on the show on Switch 2 Ultra, we will have played Donkey Kong Bonanza. I think I did the math, and I played 18 hours of Mario Kart World on stream so far. And to match that, I think I just need to do a double-length stream on Thursday and then play it every... Well, no, I'll only have like 6 hours in it. Maybe I'll do some additional time on my own to maybe avoid or get 2 spoilers before it is spoiled for me. We'll see where that loads out. Additional information like this of Bonanza, I think, because we see this logo here as well. Yeah, they did. This is does anything look off to this picture? Because they released this picture recently, a couple days before the game's launch. Does anything stand out to you here? Anything look interesting?
Pauline is really blue.
Now look at. I want you to look at. Let me zoom in on this. Look at this image.
Okay, go back.
Yeah, yes, of course.
Okay. Is the logo a different color? I don't think it is.
Yeah, the left of the logo, instead of being blue, is now a sort of deep green color.
Dude, I think that might be your mind playing tricks on you.
You don't
think
see
this
it.
Is like a color
you don't see it. It's not blue anymore. Now it's green.
I think. Oh, maybe it is a little more green, but I think it might also just be how the color is perceived with the different colors around it. I wouldn't be super surprised if that was actually the same.
I'm doing the drop tool. Photoshop. Perfect. Scroll over here. Do a little drop tool. My computer's really fighting me because of all. I mean, parts of it seem a lot. But let's see the previous.
I think you're right. Immune to the
to the K-Rool propaganda.
I just wanted to be the guy that didn't get fooled by a optical illusion.
I have to be. So one of us has to buy it, and it might as well be me. Okay, this isn't the same green. I mean this is more blue. So lighter blue. Yeah, I would definitely describe this as like that TikTok blue, whereas this is definitely green. And this is actually parts of this look remarkably similar. To the naked eye, almost indistinguishable. And then we have more green. Which could mean nothing, of course. Doesn't necessarily mean anything. Maybe they thought green just looked better with purple. Or maybe there was a character hidden deep within this game.
Oh, yeah, no, I don't buy that.
We've covered a lot of topics very litigiously here. I had a whole thing I wanted to say about the Street Fighter movie. I mean, other than the cast just looking bad, I don't like this comedian. It's weird that there's 2 professional wrestlers in it. Noah Centineo as Ken. I don't feel anything very strong about the Street Fighter movie, but this
He's
is
got the he's got the eyebrows for it.
yeah. I mean, that's probably why I love when movie accounts, you know, your culture crave do things like this where they have to find images where they look similar. So they had this is an image of Ken from Street Fighter like 4, I think, and the rest are modern. So I think they're just like, okay, what image of Ken looks the most like this guy?
That's funny.
Also, this is a very I don't like this cast. Cody Rhodes, if you don't know, is a professional wrestler. He has this American flag motif tattooed on his neck. So Guile's really the only character he could play that wouldn't require a lot of makeup. I hope Guile and Akuma fight in the movie. I'm not even convinced this movie's going to be getting made. Anyway, on top of that, if we're talking about mediocre video game movies, and we just talked about how Donkey Kong's design was changed later in development of the game due to the movie, apparently, I don't know how much credit you give to patents or rather trademarks, because this happens a lot when it comes to video games, that a trademark is licensed and then everyone goes up in arms, because this one seems a little more specific than just re-upping the trademark for a long lost series. Is this, I believe, was done by Nintendo Studios LLC and Universal Pictures. Untitled Donkey Kong Project motion picture. I feel like we knew about this, no? The prospect. I mean, not outwardly. All we know is that the Mario movie exists and that they're working on a Zelda movie that has been delayed. But I always thought that, like, we knew internally, or maybe just somebody postulated it and theorized it, and then we just all latched onto it, that there was going to be a Mario movie and then maybe like a spin-off Donkey Kong movie. I always assumed it would be like that of the Knuckles
I think I
show,
heard people kind of
where it'd
murmuring
be a
about
streaming
that.
show, but it seems now. I mean, this just means it's in development. Again, like I said, when it comes to movies particularly, if I don't see a trailer and a poster, it doesn't exist. This is just a name. But there's a lot to be said about a Donkey Kong Project movie, a Donkey Kong Project motion picture. Could it be possible?
I like the idea of it.
Could it be possible that King K. Rool is not only in Donkey Kong Bonanza, not only in Mario Kart World, but is also in an untitled Donkey Kong project? Could this be the era of King K. Rool and they're bringing him back because they need a major antagonist for the Donkey Kong Project motion picture?
Ooh, just might be.
You don't seem very convinced.
Well, I'm curious, like how have there been like have there been movie patents kind of filed by Nintendo for this kind of thing before?
I don't believe so.
Yeah, so
I mean, regardless,
actually,
even if it was in fact Nintendo of a LLC. So if if they, I don't know what else it would mean. It seems very cut and dry for it to be Donkey Kong Project motion picture.
Yeah.
YouTube chat says, anyone else think Andrew should review Hilda? I've actually never seen Hilda, so that's one I'm more likely to do than like Gravity Falls, because it would be my experience with it. I've never actually seen it. Thank you, number 3 chatter. I like that the YouTube chat ranks them now, so I can have my favorites. That is, I believe, everything we missed or wanted to cover between weeks. The week we missed, technically week 15, but now this is week 15. We've updated our Smash chart. We've talked about Bonanza. We've talked about Donkey Kong in general. We've talked about Donkey Kong 64. We've talked about other N64 games hidden in the background. GameCube games being added to NSO. Earthbound remake, of course. That one's probably going to happen. Xbox layoffs, just individual vacation time. But I believe my lovely wife is making pasta for me upstairs, and I really want to go see Superman because I'm tired of scrolling on my feed and seeing potential spoilers. I need to see this film. The storm has let up.
I assumed you'd already seen it.
I know. I would have assumed I already seen it too. I was stuck on an island for the last week, watching Love Island, having it beamed into my brain. Do you have any closing remarks for this episode of Switch to Ultra? This most momentous occasion.
Anyone in the Sacramento area this Saturday, the movie that I'm in, Brain Bugs, directed by John Westling, is being showed at the historic Crest Theater in Sacramento, California. If you want to get tickets and show up, you can search up Brain Bugs Sacramento Crest Theater, and you probably find the Ticketmaster page. I'm not actually like that big in the movie. I just kind of like appear as kind of like like a side character in the beginning, but it's a good movie. I'm really glad to be part of it. John's been a long time friend of mine. He's been in several of my videos. Yeah,
this is something I've heard about, I think a little bit ago, so this has been in the works for a very long time.
Yeah, I flew out to be like do my film my part of the filming last April. I remember I sat down with John. He was telling me the basic idea he had for the movie back in when he came down to Florida to help me make the Revenge of the Island video in late 2022. So it's been in the making for a while.
This has, well, for me on the me side, well, how's the Pocatello Island video coming along?
It's a long video. So it's
But
gonna be long.
I like getting these weekly updates or now sub-weekly updates about them so that when it does come out, it can be like, wow, it came out. This is what people have been talking about for a while.
Yeah.
But for me, I've released the Fantastic Four video that I've talked about in circles and on Twitter before, so people knew was everything moving forward is kind of. I don't think I've said anything about. Well, I said on this show that I'm just gonna do the total drama video. Next video is total drama video. I want to make a teaser for it because I like the video teasers, but next video is total drama video. It's not gonna look the way you expect, and I won't review or won't reveal what the topic of the video is, but look forward to that. It's gonna be July somewhere, so people can finally get off my back about it. But as far as this episode goes, we are ground
I'm excited
zero
for it.
right before Donkey Kong Bonanza, and we got a couple more weeks before that video, but we shall see. I have been your co-parent, BH Ultra.
And I have been your co-parent, Switchy.
And I am about to hang up. Thank you so much for joining me here, Switchy.